Good morning, everyone. A very, very warm welcome. Sir, am I audible?
Sir, we are audible, sir. We are audible.
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. A very, very warm welcome to all of you to today's session on behalf of CGPI. Today's session on panel discussion on issues in GST appellate filing is a very important session, and with us we have some of the main names of the industry panelists with CA Mandar sir, Dhananjay Akhade sir, Arpan Vora sir, and Omkar Gadgil sir. With the GSTAT filing due date of 30th June approaching soon, and as of now, only 11,797 appeals having been filed till date. This is the live data as of a minute ago. Only 11,797 appeals have been filed out of the expected lakhs of appeal to be filed, with portal issues continuing, with the government, with the outreach programs being continuously happening, and the infrastructure being continuously updated. With all of these things, the council, the taxpayers are still continuously facing issues with respect to filing of appeals and understanding what approach to be taken up. Considering all these scenarios, we have taken up this session, we have taken up the responsibility to conduct this session with the panelists available today and with our amazing moderator, Advocate Arupdas Gupta sir. With this, before we begin the session, I would like to simply, in a very brief manner, introduce our panelists today and our moderator, and then we will begin with the session. Though the panelists need not need any introduction, but still, for the sake of formality and a short token of respect, we would like to begin with the small formal introduction. We have with us Advocate Dhananjay Khade sir. We are pleased to welcome sir, who brings a rare combination of departmental experience and present litigation practice. Sir joined the Sales Tax Department in 1991 and retired as an Additional Commissioner State Tax Pune Zone. Sir was closely associated with GST law, drafting, and implementation process. Sir represented Maharashtra at the national level. Sir has also participated in 43 GST Council meetings and contributed widely to key committees, including the Law Committee, Fitment Committee, and Export Committee. Sir has also been felicitated by the Finance Ministry in the hands of the then Revenue Secretary, Shri Hasmukh Adhia, Government of India, and also by the state of Maharashtra for the contribution in the implementation of GST law. Presently, sir is engaged in the GST consultancy and litigation practice. So, with folded hands, welcome you. Our next panelist for today is C. Omkar Gadil sir. We are pleased to welcome C. Omkar Gadil sir, a chartered accountant with 12 years of experience in direct taxation. Sir currently is a senior partner as S.G. Deshpande and Associates and has earlier worked with KPMG Mumbai and Gokhale and Sathi in indirect tax roles. Sir advises on GST, advisory, and litigation matters across sectors, including manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, hospitals, IT, management services, and aviation as well. Sir, till date, has conducted more than 125 seminars on GST, excise, and service tax, and also authored the book GST Concepts to the Go. Sir, we welcome you to this particular session. Our next panelist for today is CA Arpan Vora sir. Sir Arpan Vora sir is a practicing chartered accountant and company secretary specializing in GST advisory and litigation. Sir is the founder of Urban Pora and Company, a regular speaker on indirect taxes, and brings wide extensive experience in handling GST disputes, audits, and compliance matter. Our last panelist for today is CA Mandar Talang sir, and we are pleased to welcome sir, who is a partner at Gokhale and Sathi Chartered Accountants. Sir is a respected voice in indirect taxation and has been actively associated with the ICI Indirect Tax Committee, Bombay Chartered Accountant Society, and various GST professional forums as a speaker, author, and contributor on GST and allied laws. He has also contributed to important GST publications and representations before tax authorities and has been actively involved in GST trainings and knowledge dissemination across the country. We are delighted to have you with us, sir, and I have been privileged to hear with sir and learn from sir. So it's a pleasure to have Mandar sir with us. Last but not the least, our very favorite Arup Das Gupta sir, who is the moderator for today, and we are privileged to have sir as the moderator for today's session. Advocate Arup Das Gupta sir, with 25 years of experience in taxation, corporate advisory, and litigation, has advised and is still advising leading corporates and multinational companies across diverse sectors of the economy. Sir regularly appears before tribunals and high courts and has been actively involved in the GST policy representations before the government, CBIC, GSTN since the inception of GST. We are delighted to have him steer today's discussion. Sir, a warm welcome to all of you. And it's my privilege to be able to introduce each one and every one of you. And I truly believe that each and every participant today would be privileged to learn something from each of us. Arup sir, over to you.
Thank you, Utkarshi. I think for the wonderful introductions. Yes, so now we'll have to quickly go into the topic because we have the woods are lovely dark, the woods are lovely, long and deep, but we have promises to keep and miles to go before we sleep. So I'll quickly go to, so before I will start on today's deliberation, I would request our President, Madam Sujadra Mingara ma'am, to kindly share a few words on the emphasis of GSTAT and why we have been choosing this topic today. Ma'am, over to you, ma'am. I think Madam has joined. Utkarshi.
Madam has joined.
Yeah. President, ma'am. Yes. Ajay, you have to, I think, make ma'am also co-host. Yeah, she's good.
Okay, yes. Madam, audio is not working, so Madam has requested to start the session.
Okay. So, yes, I think so. Then we'll start. So, I'll quickly go into the presentation. So, just give me 1 second. So, I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Yeah. So we will quickly go into the first topic the topic of discussion is GSTAT, and today we will restrict ourselves to the e-filing issues, not much into the legal issues, but the legal issues which are concerned with the e-filing issues only. So now I would go quickly and directly to Arpanji to share about the e-filing template. Why it is being told that e-filing template is the main gate to the GST e-filing, and that is something that we should take into cognizance and be careful about. Arpanji, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Arupji. With respect to e-filing template, we all are aware that last few months we have we have spent to understand the technical glitches, etc. But there are majority of the details that has been prescribed at the GSTAT portal. And this e-filing template is nothing but a replica of what all the details and the fields that are being asked in at the GSTAT portal. That is, once we file all those details, APL05 would be auto-generated. So if we ensure that e-filing template is correctly filled, and this e-filing template also gives us a gist of all the information that would be required with respect to this case beforehand, so that we can accordingly prepare our appeal submissions, and our major focus would be also on the facts and other cases details, like say suppose 2000 word limit. There are multiple things that are being requested or duplicated. This if we have filled the e-filing template properly, this would ease in our appeal filing submissions. And also at the due date, say suppose if I have three applications to file in a single GSTN, three appeals if I'm supposed to file, then we can ask our team, or we can do simultaneously working in this Excel template, and that would help us at a last minute and last moment. So this e-filing template, I would say, would be a blessing if can be wisely used.
Thank you, Arpanji. I think, yeah, because that's why many people are saying that this is a gateway to GST, as you rightly explained. So
True,
now
true.
we'll go to Omkarji. Omkarji, the next question that is being quite often asked, that ये तो हमें समझ में आता है कि ARN, where ARN CRN is available. But what are the situations where this ARN CRN is not available? And how do we handle that?
Yes. Good evening, Arupda. And
yeah.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes. Good evening, Arupda and everybody. So, friends, when ARN CRN is not being available now, there are still some instances where in GST also we are having a few orders which are coming in the format of an offline order. More likely, it is not being visible, or efforts are required to be taken that you go to the GST department and ask them to put it online. However, it is still not happening. So for those cases, especially the ARN CRNs are not available. Now, of course, if you see this tab, the e-filing tab, if you select that the ARN is not available, then specifically there, what it exactly asks you to do is that all those contents that you could otherwise see in the APL 01 form, the first appeal form also, exactly all those contents plus the details of the orders of the appellate authority are something which we will be required to be filling in this particular tab. So prima facie, what comes to, I mean, prima facie, what we can actually see, where we can actually notice this is in the absence of a physical order which is being passed. Also, there are some cases where the current registration, I mean, sorry, the taxpayer is required to obtain a temporary registration, especially when the registration is cancelled, let's suppose. Now, we have one live case where they are not able to access their portal. So, for filing the GST, I mean, there is no reference of the ARN now that can be picked up because they are not able to access their portal because of some reasons that the person has left the organization, etc., etc. So now in that case, if they are now going to be required to be filing this any appeal for before the Honorable Sister, I mean GSTAT, then also this pops up for one more reason for not having an ARN CRN actively available. So yes, there are instances, and maybe if I'm missing out on anything, there might be another instance also. But there is a remedy available. That is a good part. But it's a very brief and detailed data that is required to be put in. Otherwise, in the absence of ARN.
Thank you, Gaji. So now we'll quickly go to Mandarji. Mandarji, over to you. So as it is said that, before planning is 50% of execution. That is what we have often learned. So what are the key documents the practitioner must carefully arrange before filing for the GSTAT?
No, so I would suggest that the key documentations are required not just for the purpose of filing of the appeal, but also for the purpose of preparation of the appeal. Because unless and until all these documents are available with us, we are not in a position to file, or we are not in a position to prepare these appeal. So there may be a possibility that you may have a number of documents, but due to whatever reasons, you may not be able to upload all the documents, because considering the portal limitations or the challenges that many people are facing, it's advisable probably that we may right now upload only those documents which are called for. Otherwise, I have seen personally a lot of time is getting wasted, especially when there are lengthy orders, running into a lot of pages and maybe 10, 12 grounds. Then, submitting all the documentation at this stage may not be advisable because of the challenges of the portal. The minimum documents which I think it's rule 21 of the procedure rule, GSTAT procedure rule, which basically deals with what are the documents which generally are expected to be filed along with the memorandum of appeal. So what the rule basically says is that you need to file an order against which the appeal is filed. That has to be a certified order. So what is that certification? I think there is another question. We will
Yeah.
deal it at that point of time. But it needs to be a certified copy of the order. And if it is an order of an appellate authority, then obviously also have to give along with that the original order against which the appellate order has been passed. So both these orders are required, and then the show cause notice will also be required to be attached to it. So OIO, OIA, show cause notice, these are the three basic fundamental documents to be filed in a certified copies of that, unless you are filing it originally. The last one is relied upon documents. Ideally, relied upon documents are not separate from the show cause notice, because generally they are the part of the show cause notice. And therefore, the submission of the relied upon documents ideally is required, because unless until you file all the documents which are attached or forming part of the show cause notice, the show cause notice is not complete. But then I believe one needs to take a practical call, because most of the time these relied upon documents are not provided to us in the physical form, they are provided to us in an online form. So in that particular case, I believe that even if you don't file it, right now it is possible to get away with that because of the relaxation. So there is a specific order of relaxation, I think dated 14th of May 2026, which basically says that you have to file only these minimum documents which I have just mentioned. And apart from that, obviously, the pre-deposit challan, So there also, I think some question would be there. Since I've gone through the entire material prepared by you, I already know what is there in the future. But yes, pre-deposit challan is something that would be required to be uploaded. The payment generally is made automatically at the time when you are filing an appeal. There is an offline payment also, online payment also. Appeal fee I'm talking about. So that appeal fee also needs to be uploaded along with the appeal as a proof. So as long as we are filing these five elements, I think your appeal is good to go. It is good to be admitted as a valid appeal. There would be on merits various other documents or the additional documents that may be required to be placed on record. That would include various factual, submissions that you have made, because we know that in most of the cases now, when the appeal is going to be, discussed by the appellate authority or heard by the appellate authority, many of the grounds are that although the documents were submitted, they were not properly appreciated, they were not properly examined. So most of these 11,000 and odd appeals which was mentioned earlier, I think most of them would have a large number of appeal which would go back by way of a remand, either to the original authority or to the appellate authority. But for that, it needs to be shown that whatever documents you have said that has not been examined by the earlier authority were already submitted at that respective state. So therefore, in most of the cases, all these documents also required to be added as a part of your paper book or the memorandum. So whether to add that or not, that again, ideally, in principle, yes, all these things needs to be added. But if for whatever reason any person is facing any problem or difficulty in filing the appeal right now, at the appellate stage, I think you may skip those documents initially. You may include a line in the appellate memorandum that you are going to submit, stating that due to limitation, various other factors are not uploaded, which would be presented separately in the course of the appellate hearing. That is how I think we say that's a practical call one can take. Needless to mention, there are other forms which says that how to present the grounds of appeal. It needs to be numbered. Who should be the respondent? So all these aspects also needs to be seen when you are preparing the APL 05. So the contents I am not getting much right now, because I believe as we unfold this particular session, we would be able to. But whatever I just said, these are the minimum things so long as you are filing. There was also one more requirement of affidavit. Only in cases where the department, or the government or the president or the member wants you to file that affidavit, or you are relying upon certain facts for the purpose of interlocutory applications or some miscellaneous applications like condonation of delay, etc., which requires you to submit certain affidavits on record. Only in those cases, those affidavits are required to be filed. For whatever reasons, now, in case the portal requires you to compulsorily mandatory file the affidavit, then you just upload the plain paper and that's it. Earlier, when I had filed the appeal, it was asking. So we just filed a plain paper saying that no affidavit is required in this present case, and we uploaded it. So these are the practical things that one needs to go through without talking too much about what technical glitches we have. Something which can be taken up very easily, practically, we should do it and to avoid that. That is how I would look at it.
Right. So thank you, Mandarji. And while Mandarji was sharing, I think he was mentioning about the office memorandum, also office instruction. So
Arupji, you are mute.
yeah. So thank you, Mandarji. Thank you, Mandarji. So for the I think for the on the discussion on the key documents, and as Mandarji was mentioning about the 14th May instruction, there you'll get it under the e-filing GSTAT website under the head notices. So there you'll get all the instructions that has been issued by the principal bench till now. So I would also request you to go through them also, because they'll also come many times during our deliberation. So now I'll go quickly into the next window, which would say, what does it have? It has the basic details. What does it have? It has the act, it has a section, it has a case type, it has whether any issue is to be going to the principal bench or not. We also need to say what is the jurisdiction of the appellate authority, whether the order is the order of adjudication has been passed by a common adjudicating authority, and also the appellate authority who has passed the impugned order. So these are the basic details that we need to fill in the basic this particular window. So now we will go to the question that is being commonly raised by the professionals. So here the question is that the GSTT rules prescribe the composition of bench, like principal bench, state bench, and area bench. So I would like to know from Sir, Advocate Dhananjay Khade sir, that which category of dispute should ideally should go before the principal bench at New Delhi? And what are the practical implications of choosing an incorrect bench? Yes, sir. So you have to unmute, sir. Yes.
Good evening, all. Let me tell you the history. Originally, when the GSTAT was planned to be formatted, it was only an administrative office of the principal bench president. Then we realized that something has to be allotted to the principal bench. Otherwise, it would be merely an administrative office. And then eventually, the one thing was in discussion, that place of supply dispute. There was a dispute between state and center, between two states. So place of supply was decided to be allotted to principal bench. Then eventually GSTAT realized that this won't suffice. So now, by virtue of notification, in all 6 subjects are allotted to principal bench. One is already discussed, place of supply dispute. What I believe is place of supply dispute eventually boils down to a nature of supply dispute. Then secondly, anti-profiteering appeal. Earlier it was discussed that it should be given to Competition Commission of India. Then they refused, and finally it was given to Principal Bench GSTAT. So place of supply, then anti-profiteering 171(2), then identical legal questions before 2 states, where it would be referred by vice president to the president, and then president will decide in the principal bench. Then fourth is the OIDR and online money gaming issue, section 14 and 14A of IGST Act. Then ISD issue, section 20, the common disputes between 2 states. And lastly, the National Appellate Authority for Advance Ruling, where there could be 2 contradictory judgment of the Appellate Authority for Advance Ruling that will go to principal bench to finally provide a verdict. Other than these 6, state benches would be allotted, area benches would be allotted a normal second appellate authority issues, that is appeal against the first appellate authority or revision, as the case may be. So that would be simply on the area jurisdiction basis. Appeals arising within the territorial jurisdiction of the state UT, single state disputes. Then matters where the registered place of business and the adjudicating authority fall within the same state bench jurisdiction. Then area benches, here matters assigned by the state bench president for decongestion, convenience of taxpayers. So something would be delegated to vice president to decide of the state. What could be the practical implication of wrong filing? Filing before wrong bench, the result could be the appeal would be returned, and though not rejected at the outset, the appeal would be returned, and the after correction it would go to the proper pocket. Then jurisdictional defect, that the consequences could be pre-deposit paid, may be blocked. This is a possibility at this juncture, we can say. Then refiling triggers a fresh limitation issue. Maybe, I don't know, the GSTAT would have a solution to that. That would be known only when the things are cropping up. Then limitation exposures. Then definitely a cost issue. And lastly, not least, credibility. The mess we created may surface before the bench, and that creates a credibility issue. So what could be the practical tips? So kindly see the state of the adjudicating authority's order, whether the dispute involves of more than one state. First, one has to see whether it goes to principal bench. Otherwise, it filter down to the area or state bench only. So one has to be very clear on this issue. And to avoid all these problems, one has to be very careful while deciding the bench and the area jurisdiction of the state bench also. So, if in doubt, we can file a miscellaneous application before the principal bench and get the thing sorted.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And as far as, sir, I would just like to add to that like about the place of supply, as sir has rightly shared, it could be that you have made a supply which is IGST, but the department is contemplating that it's a CGST, SGST, because the movement of the goods has ended in your state and all these issues are there. They'll go to the principal bench. But where there is inherently a clerical mistake or so, which is not related to the place of supply, then it would go to the state bench. That is one thing. And
Yes,
sir,
sir.
also I think another thing that also the audience would like need to appreciate that maybe in a total demand of 2 crores, you have a place of supply dispute of 2 lakhs or maybe 5 lakhs. So in that case, we have to apply our jurisdiction, our I think our conscience or jurisdiction to apply that whether for this 2 lakhs out of the demand of 2 crores, we will go to the principal bench. Because sir, I think if we go to the principal bench, what is our exposure? Our exposure is that after the order is unfavorable before the principal bench, we have to go directly to the Honorable Supreme Court. So all these things also, I think, sir, we need to take into consideration, as you have rightly said, that it's always wiser to it's always wiser to actually, I think,
I
record.
think, Arupta, I'm sorry, but recording is stopped. Just
Yeah, okay, I'll just wait.
sorry, who is looking into recording?
Magic. Yes. Oh, okay. Unable to cloud recording. Okay, I'll record to this computer. Okay. So as I was sharing that out of a total demand of 2 crores that you have lost of the first appellate authority, and out of that only maybe 5 lakhs is only for place of supply dispute. So for the exposure of 5 lakhs, will we take the risk of going to the principal bench? That also something that we need to understand, also share the risk with the client, because for if we go with that 5 lakh matter to the principal bench and we lose the entire dispute before the principal bench, our exposure will be before the Honorable Supreme Court. Whereas if we admit that 5 lakhs dispute and go in appeal for the remaining 1 crore 95 lakhs before the state bench, then our exposure will be before the High Court, and after which we have another forum, maybe Supreme Court. I think, sir, that would be also something that, as you have rightly shared, we need to wisely also think on that also, on that aspect. And that's why you shared that maybe in some case we can file a miscellaneous application before the Honorable Principal Bench to get an idea as to whether it would be applicable to go to the Principal Bench or not. So with this, we'll go to the next query.
Amitaji, I have something to add here. Can I?
Yeah, Arpanji, please. Yeah.
If you can just turn to the slide of the GSTAT portal, if you can just take 2 slides back.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
one.
Here, does the question applies with respect to place of supply? We have an option to choose yes or no.
Yes.
And here, if the moment we choose yes, and if we save and if we go next, we will not have the option to edit it again.
Yes, that is a challenge.
That is also one aspect, the issues in filing that we are seeing that would benefit to our members who are attending the session today. So we have to be very careful here. And if by chance, if they have selected yes and they have went ahead, they have to either delete the draft or they don't have any other option to undo it. So we have to be very careful by selecting each and every field. This is from my end.
Thank you, Arpanji. And here only I think what Mandarji was saying, that is very important, that before we start, we do the entire review of the documents and see whether whatever the documents, that the Excel template that we are going to fill in, as Arpanji has also shared in the beginning, the Excel sheet template filling up will also come in this benefit. So that even if in the Excel sheet we make a mistake that we have chosen principal bench yes, and later on while filling the Excel template we find that it will go to the state bench. In the Excel template we can make the change, so that finally when we are going and uploading it in the portal, our risks are minimized. So we'll now go to the next question. Mandarji, over to you now. So there is a tab here which says that has the original order of adjudication been passed by a common adjudicating authority? So in what situations can we say that the order is passed by common adjudicating authority?
No, so common adjudicating authority, as I understand, is basically the creature of the notification. So generally, it happens in the cases where the DGGI is involved, and therefore, on identical matters, either the multiple persons are required to be adjudicated, or the same person with different locations of that particular persons are required to be adjudicated. That is the reason why the common adjudicating orders or adjudicating officers are there. And there are two parts to it. When we are talking about, if we look at the notifications that are issued under Section 3, there are two parts to this. One is the jurisdiction, as to there are certain certain jurisdictions which are certain authorities in the certain states which are given the all over India jurisdiction, and another is the person who would be appointed as the common adjudicating authority. So the authorities which are given the all over India jurisdiction, number one, can only be appointed as a common adjudicating authorities. And number two, as per the circulars, the rule says, or the instruction says, that the for a particular SSE, the show cause notice having the maximum demand, that particular authority shall be considered as an authority who will have the who will be appointed as a common jurisdictional authority. So when we are talking about the common jurisdictional authority, obviously the SSE will be intimated that for XYZ reason, this will be appointed as a common adjudicating authority. Otherwise, if he is not intimated, he has got every right to invoke the jurisdictional aspect, saying that I am not, you are not my proper officer. So unless and until that intimation has come to the assessee, he won't be able to know whether it is coming as a common jurisdictional or common adjudicating authority or not. So I believe which orders can be identified as an order passed by the common adjudicating authority. I think the answer to that is based on the intimation given by the department. And mostly it would be all the anti-evasion DGGI matters involving either anti-evasion issues or the industry-based interpretational issues. So that was the first aspect. The second aspect in such cases, to whom the appeal should be filed, which bench. So I believe that there is one circular, not necessarily that circular is dealing with the tribunal, but it is dealing with the first appellate authority as to in such case, in whose jurisdiction that first appeal should be filed. So that is basically the circular 250-07-2025 dated 24th June 2025. So as per this circular, you have to see who is the commissioner in whose jurisdiction the common adjudicating authority is located. So you have to identify the commissioner in whose jurisdiction the common adjudicating authority who is trying your case or who is adjudicating your case is located. That commissioner appeal would be considered as the appellate authority, first appellate authority. So going by the same logic, if the common adjudicating authority, you have to first see in whose jurisdiction the common adjudicating authority is, who is the commissioner corresponding to your common adjudicating authority, and against that particular commissioner's jurisdiction or the state bench, that particular appeal shall automatically go. That will lie. That is number one. Number two is that if there are multiple parties involved, obviously the orders will be also be multiple. So it's not as if there will be a common order, it will be a multiple order. So obviously not necessary that the commissioner in whose jurisdiction that particular order is located in the same state. So obviously there may be a possibility that a person in Maharashtra may have to, get into the other jurisdiction of the state bench. That is possible, but there is nothing wrong in it, because even for the purpose of filing of an appeal before the tribunal, if you look at the procedure, GSTAT rules as to who can be added as a respondent, there they have said that it is a commissioner who should be added as a respondent. And therefore, when you are saying that it is the commissioner who should be added as a respondent, because he is the executive authority who is basically going to appoint the representatives who will argue for the department before the tribunal, GSTAT. In that case, I think the whatever mentioned in this circular, which is applicable to the first appellate authority, equally applies. So that is how I would look at it. A commissioner in whose jurisdiction the common adjudicating authority is passing the order and is functioning, that commissioner's state bench would be considered as an appropriate judicial forum for this purpose.
Thank you. Thank you, Mandarji. Dhananjay sir, would you like to add anything to this?
The common understanding could be the first appellate authority would be the respondent, but I had an opportunity to speak with the NIC people in Delhi.
Yeah.
So they say it should be for state authority, adjudicating authority, it should be commissioner of state. And for central authority, I am told, I have no experience about, but I am told that the area jurisdiction wise, the respondent authority would be picked up by the portal itself. I don't know the practical experience the people have, but it would be the commissioner of state in case of state adjudicating authority, and central authority. One has to search for who would be the commissioner, and that would be a difficult part of it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So I think this question is clear. Why we are sharing this question is from many quarters we have received this query that what will happen in case of common adjudicating authority. And Mandarji has rightly said, as we have go take the help of the circular which is there for the first appellate authority, and accordingly we'll move to the state bench till any further clarification comes in this regard. So now we go to the another important part of this, which has the case details. So in the case details, there are three important parts. One is the ground of appeal in brief, another is a brief issue of the character under dispute, and third is the prayer. So these three things need to be given under 2000 characters, and very briefly it is said a concise summary should be given. So now I'll go to the panelists one by one. So I'll first go to Dhananjay sir. That do we put only the key grounds? Okay, here because I may be having 10 different grounds for a particular matter. So do we in this summary, do we give only the key grounds or a synopsis of all the grounds? How do we do it, sir?
Everyone would like to put all these grounds to before the tribunal, but the question is of 2000 characters, and one has to adjust in that. So it could not be it cannot be a zip file. One has to make it crisp and precise, and so then the selection and the priority will be obviously be there. So legally sustainable grounds, not every argument which is conceivable. So each ground must directly challenge a specific finding in the important order, and weak, repetitive, factually dubious ground should be avoided, because while doing that, we may lose sight of the basic or the highest value ground, and we'll keep on adding the other grounds also. Let us be precise and crisp, and to adjust it within that 2000 characters. So one has to be very specific about the priority of the grounds.
Thank you, sir. So another query that is coming from the tax professionals is, do we need to earmark separately that these are technical grounds, like ये limitation के grounds हो गए हैं, ये jurisdiction का ground है, and ये merit का ground है. Do we need to earmark that separately?
There could be technical grounds, and there could be grounds on merit. So one has to look into what way more, because sometimes the technical ground, like show cause notice without jurisdiction or beyond limitation, the most important point, the personal hearing was not given. Many orders are without dean. Time barred issues. So one has to prioritize on that technical issue first instead of merit. And sometimes the merit issue prevails more on the other technical grounds. So one has to choose, one has to weigh the most relevant or most attacking grounds, and then give a priority to that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So now I'll go to Arpanji. Arpanji, what's your experience of framing the facts of the case? Because as I'm told by many of the professionals that Arupji, everything is okay, but facts में तो इतना कुछ होता है कि 2000 words में how do we just accommodate them? So Arpanji, what's your view on this?
Sir, again, my view would be to not focus on this 2000 words at this moment. First, frame all your facts of the case, grounds of appeal, everything document in your appeal book. Make it a very detailed submissions what you wanted to give, and this 2000 words limit should come at a later date, that once our facts of the case like enter, because we all always often tell that tribunal being a last fact finding authority, so we have to not focus on the 2000 words here, rather than we have to focus on the facts which we would want to bring it to the notice of the tribunal. And as and when all the facts, the moment the bench sees, look at, they should get a holistic idea or holistic overview of our case. That is the main intent here. And with respect to 2000 words, I would suggest, or in my opinion, I would tell that overview of 2000, like overview of the facts, like synopsis of the facts should be given. And what we are doing at our office is we are writing a sentence at the last, that for full facts refer to the appeal memorandum or appeals submissions given here under. So that fits because a bench, whatever the 2000 words we are written, that gives us them more of like a synopsis sort of an idea, and
Yes.
rather, and if they require, they can refer it to the full facts later. This is what I can suggest to our fellow members.
What
Thank
I
you,
mean to
Arpan.
say was
Yeah. Yes, sir.
the 2000 word limit was there in that box. So
Yes.
one has to be precise over there.
Yes.
And while uploading the documents, when you file a memorandum of appeal, there we have a full scope to put it as much as we can. There we
Right.
can elaborate on the issues.
Right. So I think yeah. So what Arpanji said, that let's prepare the facts of the case first, then summarize it and try to bring it within 2000 words. And at the end, we write that the detailed facts of the case as it is given in the annexure. It is given. Omkarji, any views of yours on this, on facts of the case?
Arugda, on both of these points, I
Yes.
have a view that, see, primarily because we are doing all this entire filing process online, the
Yeah.
purpose being that the hearings are going to be in the hybrid mode. So what we are definitely given to understand is that the honorable judges at the tribunal also, they will be accessing more of from the system point of view. So
Yes.
what usually transpires in a hearing, that you give the arguing counsel, they give the synopsis, and then the judges go through it. This is going to be a way that before even, I mean, before attending a particular matter, if they are able to scroll through the principal points, then they are much through the case. And of course, the paper book submission, as we know, we will always be referring to them only to the key paragraphs, what we want to highlight. But just to get a hindsight of the entire matter in the most precise form, this is the purpose, I believe, why it has been done. So as I mean, I agree with all the panelists who specifically mentioned that try to put forward only those things which you would want more specifically to be highlighted when it comes to the fact. Now, if just for the sake of it, like we have some refund rejection orders where the purpose was only that, okay, the bank account was not registered, but there was another bank account in which the remittance had been received. Now, if this is your core issue, then might as well this has to be there as a part of it. So the purpose is limited to only this, I believe, that nobody is stopping us from giving a detailed submission. It is only that a way to have a concise submission in order to help the judges understand. And the other factor being, since the number of appeals are going to be substantial, it is not practically possible for the learned judges to also keep on going through the detailed submissions in each and every case. This might just help to speed up. This is just perspective of mine, which I would want to share.
I think so. Omkarji has added an important perspective, that is, when we are filing the GSTAT appeals, we need to keep this in mind, that the honorable bench members may have to view all these details from the system instead of the traditional paper book mechanism that we had. So when the synopsis is there before the honorable bench members, it would be easier for them to quickly understand what would be those facts or what would be those grounds on which the arguing counsel is going to argue. So with this, I'll go to the next question, I think, next tab. So ओमकार जी, I'll come over to you. बोलते हैं कि मंदिर में जाने से प्रार्थना ठीक से करना पड़ता है, भगवान को भी बोलना पड़ता है कि क्या चाहिए एग्जैक्टली, तभी मिलता है. तो व्हाट इज, बिकॉज दिस इज समथिंग विच इज बीइंग हाईली क्वेश्चन आस्क्ड बाय मेनी ऑफ आवर टैक्स प्रोफेशनल ब्रदर्स एंड सिस्टर्स, दैट सर व्हाट इज द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ प्रेयर्स. वो तो हम लिख देते हैं ना, द ऑर्डर शुड बी क्वाश्ड एंड ये वो चलता है. सो ओमकार जी, व्हाट इज द सिग्निफिकेंस?
So, Aruga, once again, so what, I mean, somehow this is my experience that prayers in the appeal has been the most ignored part when we are actually drafting an appeal, because our entire focus is always on the facts and grounds of appeal and this case laws and bunch of citations that we would want to quote. But as you rightly mentioned, that a standard set of prayers will always include, okay, quash the order, set aside the order, or to do whatever with the orders. But I believe the centric objectives of the relief that you would want to seek from the appeal have to be specifically included when you are going to write your prayer clause. So, and it should be that precise and that crisp that it encompasses especially those things which you would want to be there as a part of your order, or at least which you expect the bench to have that as a part of your order. Now, not necessary, as we always know, that not necessarily the bench is going to address each and everything categorically. Say, they may also state that, okay, this is not going to be something that we are going to give our inputs on because this is a settled matter or whatever it may be. But whatever point we would want to have especially covered in an objective manner for our appeal, of course they have to be a part of our prayers. That is the first thing. Now, as the second question follows, how does it make or break the matter? Now, to this, I would only candidly say that there is, in all honesty, in the entire process of appeal, merely because you write a prayer which is not completely covering your objectives, or merely because you are writing a short prayer, sometimes a very rushed up prayer, that does not I mean, that does not necessarily take away the rights to seek any relief, or rather, they do not right to, take away the right to seek a relief in your personal hearing or during the personal hearing. However, as we discussed my while back, that if the honorable bench is going to go through the appeals first hand before even the hearings are heard, if they are going to scroll through the appeals firsthand, as they get a clear idea about the appeal based on the facts and grounds, they would also get a clear idea as to what the appellant is really wanting to have from this appeal. And then that also sets the tone to keep the matters, or to prioritize the matters, or to see if there are anything that need to be prioritized, even from the hearing, from the listing perspective. So all these things, I believe, should be a part and parcel of this, and that is how the focus on around the prayer aspect should be while filing the appeals.
Thank you, Omkarji. I think so. With that, we complete the grounds of appeal, the facts of the case, and the prayer. Now we quickly move into the another important element of GSTAT filing, which is where choosing the category of case. So just to brief, just to show the window is there on your window on your system. So category of case under dispute. The word is under dispute. Select GST section, select GST rule. Both of them are mandatory. Though we don't find their presence in the orders many a times, even in the show cause notices, the section or rules are not there. But here it's mentioned as mandatory, and of course the amount involved that is also to be given. So taking this particular window into the background, the first question to Mandarji would be, what should be the deciding factor in choosing the category of the case? So in case there are multiple angles, so this is again a question Mandarji, many of our professional brothers and sisters are asking that, sir, suppose there are multiple angles, like there are technical angles, facts in the dispute. So how do we choose that category? Which should be chosen?
So Arupji, at least my understanding is that the only reason why the form has this particular, content is to enable the registry to understand, or to enable the benches, the president to decide as to how he wants to, classify those cases before different benches. As we know now that there is a recent notification order dated again May 2026, where they have decided various categories into three parts: classify category 1, category 2, category 3. And in category 1 certain matters are taken up, category 2 certain matters are taken up, and there is an order given that all cases falling into category 1 will be posted before a bench of X and Y. Then in some jurisdiction, all the category 3 will be posted before N and Y. So basically the only purpose of these, identification of this classification is to enable the registry to correctly categorize the matters before the right benches. What would happen if it is not done? If it is not done, in that case, it will go to the wrong bench, and then again your one hearing will be, once you start arguing, the tribunal member will say it will not fall into the category that we are working, and it will go back. We will have to pass an order for transferring the matter, and all those things. Your entire time will be wasted. So that is the significance, whether it's a category or whether it's the demand, whether it's more than 50 lakh or less than 50 lakh, whether it's tax, whether it's ITC, whether it's penalty, fine. All these are relevant only for the purpose of deciding whether. So in the earlier old regime, in the service tax regime, it was necessary for us to know whether it's a classification or dispute or not. Because if it is a classification dispute, then the appeal would lie directly to the Supreme Court. Therefore, you will have to mention in that particular form of appeal that it is a classification dispute. In GST, I don't think that we have that category wise bifurcation, except what Dhananjay ji mentioned, that if it is a place of supply issue, then it will go to the principal bench. If it is but there again, even the category of bench we have to select at the time of filing an appeal. It is not as if, we are putting the category and then it will go automatically by the system. So that is not the case. So I think this categorization has got its limited, significance. Its main purpose is to make sure that whatever is the registry mechanism for the purpose of distribution of cases, that happens in a proper manner. And if it is not done, obviously, when you will go and argue, you will be wasting your time because the matter will be again recategorized, or regroup and transferred to the other bench. So to avoid that, it is necessary to have the proper classification here.
Thank you, Mandaji. So now I'll go to Dhananjay sir. So sir, एक कॉमन ग्रीवांस, तो हम लोग तो काफी ग्रीवांस फाइल करते हैं जीएसटी में, तो इसके लिए ग्रीवांस भी बढ़ जाता है. तो इसमें वन कॉमन ग्रीवांस बाय मेनी ऑफ प्रोफेशनल्स इज दैट इन द एससीएन्स और द order in original, no section or rules are mentioned. But then how do we choose this section or rules?
To my knowledge, there are very few cases, must be few cases where the section and rule is not mentioned. Nowadays, people, officers are well versed with the provisions and section and rule. They put it properly, the section. And if any cases, then one has to, then that is the skill of an advocate, the practitioner, to go through the section and rules and select the section rules properly. I think the possibilities are remote, to my knowledge. People may have come across such issues, but even then the category one has to select it from the subject matter. That is all I can say.
Okay, thank you. So Omkarji, your inputs on this, and then I'll go to Arpanji on this. Or Arpanji, if you would like to come out first on this, about section and rules, how is your office managing this?
Managing, like I would go with Dhananjay sir here. A majority of the cases in the orders, it would be already mentioned. Say if it is refund, we all know that it is 54 that has been referred to,
The
etc.
section is there, but rules are you getting? So that is the main thing
Rules we are putting from our side.
from your side. So whatever is the nearest rule to according to the section that you're
Nearest
trying to
to-
type,
yes,
and
we
then
are
put
doing
it.
it from our side.
Okay, okay.
For example,
Yes, sir.
sorry to interrupt. For
No, sir.
example, you can identify the section for valuation of valuation issue. Suppose free supply is made from the recipient of the supply, you can choose that particular section. But while choosing that rule, it would be pretty difficult because there is no rule as such for that particular section.
Right.
It has 28, 29, 30, 31. But if the free supply, FOC supply made by recipient is added in the turnover of the taxable supply of the supplier, then section can be selected properly. But there is no rule as such. So one has to just pick up one rule, say 28, and go ahead.
Right. So yeah.
So
So
in
that.
fact, Arupji, here I
Yes,
would
yeah,
also
Manoj, yeah,
want
please.
to
Yeah.
also want to share something. See, most of the times the department's officer passing an order does not mention any rule or any form, any
Mhm.
act, any section. So there, one of the ground in the appeal itself is that the order is not speaking and it does not contain these very proper rules and all those things. And in that particular case, when you have to, put some rule over here, then it becomes difficult. So technically, this section itself needs some reconsideration at a policy level as to whether whether SSC is required to disclose. Because if factually, if there is nothing mentioned in the order, then how a particular person can presume what is there in the mind of the department against which you are filing this appeal and put that. So that, I think, some reconsideration or representation would be required in this, or at least give the drop down saying that no, not mentioned in the order, something like that. But there, I believe some representation would be
I
required.
think so, Mandarji, I think point is well taken. So I'm very happy to share with Dhananjay sir, Mandarji, Omkarji, and Arpanji that we have national presentation amongst our participants today. We have people from across India because I could see the name of the members, participants. So maybe what Mandarji is suggesting that if we have the interest and the capacity to make some representation. So let us really make a representation in this aspect that for rules, at least a tab could be dropped down where it says that no rule is applicable or no rule is mentioned, something of that kind could be made so that it would later on reduce the confusion. So now quickly, as time is a constraint for us because we have to go through many things and we are just 1 hour we have completed, we have 1 hour left. So 60 minutes baki hai. So now quickly we are going to the next tab, which is case summary tab. So here we have chosen the category details before this tab. Now we are choosing the issue related to. Then we have 4 different tabs where we have to mention as per order of adjudicating authority, as determined by the appellate authority or revisional authority, as per stand of appellant before tribunal, as declared or claimed by present appellant. So this is the issue, and what was the particular situation happening in each of them, they have to be selected and they have to be informed. So based on this particular tab, I would go to Omkarji. That Omkarji, can you please explain the difference between the as per the stand before the tribunal and as declared or claimed in the present application? Do you think they are different or do you think that they are same? Omkarji, over to you.
So, Arup, the only one way in which I could, think of possibly having a distinction between these two was that let us suppose that there is a particular matter for which the appeal was filed before the first appellate authority, and possibly there were certain grounds which were taken up then before the first appellate authority, which you would want to either either modify to certain extent, or maybe either you would want to take a different standing altogether. Because as per stand before of the appellant before the tribunal is obvious what we want to write in this particular appeal. The second one, if you see, it is as decided slash claimed by the present appellant. Now, this might be a way where it tries to indicate what we had mentioned in, what was a distinct and what we had in the earlier scenario, in earlier appeal, or what we had taken a position in the earlier appeal, if there is some distinction there. Because if you see in the case summary, in the upper two tabs, there are only as per what the adjudicating authority had to say and what the appellate authority had to say. So this is possibly that deviation what it is trying to capture, that if at all we would want to modify our stand, because there is a possibility that we go by this way, that we are trying to go for a better argument, or we are trying to go for an improvised version of the argument. If there is a distinction to that coming into effect, might as well that becomes a part of this. Because if you see, technically our entire response to the first, response to show cause notice, also response to the first appeal also, is anyways going to be encapsulated in this OIO as well as OIA.
Yes.
So this is just a way where it is trying to just mention these two distinctions. Mention this particular distinction. Now, in few of the appeals that we have filed by now, unfortunately, we have not had any distinct positions taken earlier and now. So I did not really see practically whether it is happening in the same manner. But in one of the cases, what has happened is that we have tried to take an improvised stand on one aspect, and therefore we have tried. In that case particularly, we put up a different thing in the right side in the column for declared or claimed by the present appellant, and as per the stand before the tribunal. So this is my perspective, but of course, Arup, on this we can have a opinion from the other panelists as well.
So before I go to the other panelists, I would like to share that one representation that has been made from many parts of India is that this left-hand side second, as per stand of appellant before tribunal, the view of most of the bar associations is that it could be as per stand of appellant before appellate authority, not tribunal. Then it would make more sense, because as per order of adjudicating authority, as per stand of appellant before appellate authority, as determined by the appellate authority, as declared or claimed by the present appellant. So that is one view with which we are going with the representations. But I will quickly go to Mandarji. Mandarji, you want to give any inputs on this?
No, so I agree to some extent with what Omkar said. The
Yes.
purpose is only to see if the ground has been taken before the lower authority or not. Because if the ground has not been taken before the lower authority, then see, generally, ideally, the answer should be same as what ground has been taken before the tribunal. So you need not even write too many things. It's same as mentioned in the tribunal. But if it is not taken, if that ground is not taken before the authority, then you will be compelled to mention not taken before the authority. So there, I believe, that is what probably they want to capture here, whether the ground is taken before the lower authority or not.
Right. Okay. So that could be also another school of thought. So Arpanji, you want to add anything, or we go with the panel? Okay. So yeah. So I'll now. So we go to the next tab, which is about the appellant, where we say like the constitution number, statute under which it is incorporated, and date of commencement, constitution, etc. So here most of the things are straitjacket, nothing much to discuss, apart from one simple thing where there is a doubt in the in amongst many of us who are filing, what should be the date of commencement in the form? And Arpanji, why do I ask this question? In many of the webinars and seminars, the question which is coming up, कि सर मेरा तो ये additional place of business है Calcutta में, जो मैंने 2019 में खोला है, बट मेरा कंपनी तो 1980 का है, तो व्हाट शुड आई पुट हियर? So
So,
date of commencement should be as per the additional place of business or for the company. That is one of the common doubts.
So here I would say that it is for the company, because left hand side we also put it as per Income Tax Act or as per Companies Act, etc. So I believe that if it is a private limited company, it should be as per certificate of incorporation. If it is partnership, as per partnership deed, etc. Because also it is there are very less chances for the tribunal or for the registry to check actually. If you
Yes.
see practically, it would be not be possible to check. If we go with a very true letter and spirit, even for private limited, there is a separate form 20A which we file as commencement of business. So ideally, even if it is private limited and we are choosing that, it should be the commencement of business form. But here, practically, if we see that if it is private limited, one can opt for certificate of incorporation date. If it is partnership, partnership deed, and if it is proprietorship, then that comes a confusion, because it will have a PAN date of birth date. So that is where one can choose GST registration certificate, or if it is say for additional place of business in a particular state, one can even put that. And I don't think so there we may face a defect or even some challenges when we put some date here. I
Okay.
find that at least while filling, yes, definitely at this point of time we are keying each and every detail very carefully, but I don't see from the department side or the registry or the bench side that this will come as a challenge.
Okay. Thank you, Arpanji. So now we go to the fact case history. So here, as we see when we are filling this form,
So Arupji, sorry,
yes, yes,
but
Manoj, please, please.
another point of representation. These are all needless details which are called for, and that too they are made mandatory. So we can ask them to remove all these things.
Actually, ideally, the procedures and the GST portal should be in sync,
Right.
which actually at
So,
many of the
so
places that
there is
is.
absolutely no need for the tribunal to know in the form what was the date of commencement of the business. There is absolutely no need. It doesn't determine anything. So therefore, I think a point of representation.
Thank you. I think I'll add this to this point of representation as well said, I think. Because Mandar ji, point बहुत छोटा है, but many in many forums we are getting this query. कि सर क्या होगा अगर गलत कमेंटमेंट दे दिया तो क्या होगा, where there will be a problem and all
No,
this thing.
I'll tell you, many a times it's not just the forum. Many a times it is the companies whose chairman or authorized signatory is signing the form. They are also asking us, spending 30 minutes in discussing what we should put over here. Whereas it
Oh,
has got absolutely no relevance, to be
okay.
honest with you. So I think these needless complications could be avoided.
Yes. So I would again address all my professional brothers and sisters who are from across India from different forums. Let's also take this as a point of representation and represent so that it can go together and maybe we'll find a
If
solution.
possible, we can release a form wherein we can invite the comments of the members and the practitioners to even
Yes.
put
Yeah,
those
I would
details
speak
in
to
this.
our management team, our governing body, and then I think we'll office bearers, and then we'll take it forward from there. So now going back to the next tab, which is the statement of fact case history, which is again very important because here it is something which Arpanji had started by saying that facts pura ek baar mein la do because facts are sacrosanct. This is the last forum for facts. So Mandarji, like here, the common question is that what are the things that we need to keep in mind while filing the statement? Do we need to include every communication? That is the question. कि सर मेरे पास एक ASMT 10 आया, एक उसका फिर मैंने रिप्लाई किया. Then I had this DRC 01A. I replied to that. I did not reply. They sent me 2 reminders. Do I include everything in the fact case history here?
No, so I always tell this to my colleagues also who help me preparing the appeals that you need not give everything. You give only that fact which is relevant for you for the purpose of presenting the case. Now, if there is something in the facts which does not help you, but it helps the department, let the department bring out that particular matter before you. And you should not make your case should not be the one which is making a case for the department as well. So as far as facts, for example, there may be various things. The show cause notice initial demand was 100. Thereafter, in that 100 demand, there will be 7 items. Then 4 items are deleted and only 2 items. So you don't have to write in the fact statement of facts, sir, what were those 4 items, what was the demand for it. Otherwise, you are inviting a trouble for the appellate authority to get into those facts and probably check the matter if there is any enhancement possible, etc., etc., all those things. So in the statement of facts, you have to be extremely crisp. You have to be, stating only that which is relevant for you for the purpose of, arguing before the authority. And secondly, if there is something, for example, if you are asking for, extended period of limitation, then probably you may have to mention that my inquiry was initiated on this date. I submitted all these documents in this date. Thereafter 2 years, department did not do anything, and then they come out with the notice. At that pace, probably that mention becomes relevant. So while there is no thumb rule, the facts should be crisp, and they should be only include those items which you are going to rely upon for the purpose of your presentation or for the purpose of your argument. Nothing else. Nothing else. And obviously, the care should be taken that you are not making any untrue statement in the statement of facts, because that may help, make your case problematic later on in the tribunal. So that one needs to take care.
Okay. So Dhananjay sir, do you want to add anything to this, sir?
The fact should be such that the concluding fact should be the cause of appeal.
Okay.
The facts should be mentioned in such a way that chronology should be the last or the concluding fact should be the cause of appeal.
Okay. Okay. So you're saying we have to start from, you have to say what you're saying is that we have to start with the birth of the litigation. Say it was started from audit or ASNT 10 or DRC 01A, and how it went up to the first appellate order, which is
One
the
is to
cause of
confine
appeal.
to the relevant facts. That's true, but the concluding the last fact could be the reason of appeal.
Right, right. So, Arpanji, though this is not there, I'd just like to ask from you. So, one common query which is coming is that many kuch facts I have not mentioned in my before my adjudicating authority. I've also not mentioned before my first appellate authority. So, do I mention it here? And if I have to mention it, do I need to mention it separately? That this was not mentioned before the earlier authorities. I'm talking about facts. A fact like, I'll give an example, that I have an ISD. Okay, and I have not till date mentioned that I had an ISD from which I took the credit. Without the ISD filing the returns, I've taken it on the basis of invoices and all these things. But मैंने अभी तक कभी ये mention नहीं किया कहीं पे.
I would suggest that let us put it at stretch rather than specifically mentioning that we have not put this fact before the adjudicating authority, or let the department DR points it out if required. But हम क्यों करें? Because if that is the case, the case may straight away go to the bench may straight away remand the case back because it was not brought to the notice of the adjudicating authority or the appellate authority. So I would suggest it all depends on case to case basis and the material amount involved. Say if the amount is material, say if it is 10 crores, 50 crores, I would suggest to specifically make a mention about it. But if the amount is not that material, so every case to case basis we need to look at.
Thank you, Arpanji. So next we go to appellant details. So all the nature of appellant, GSTIN, office address, email ID, etc. is filled. So here I'll go to Arpanji, to you, that whether these details are auto-populated and what happens when AR and CRN are not available. So both of them.
If AR and CRN is auto-populated, this is a blessing for us. And if AR and CRN is not auto-populated, one has to be very careful while entering all those details because we have no other option but to enter the details manually. So while entering all those details manually, again, I would suggest that Excel file would be of use again, that Excel template, fill in all those details. And while again entering the details at GSTAT portal, we have to be very extra careful here while when the AR and CRN is not auto-populated.
Right. Right.
Again, a separate care needs to be made while making the payment of pre-deposit, like filling those details, because those details will not be auto-populated, and majority of the defects today that is coming before the registry is with respect to pre-deposit.
नहीं उसके लिए हम लोगों ने separate question डाल दिया है.
अच्छा ठीक है, done. Okay.
We'll come to that because for that we have kept at around 10 minutes because pre-deposit is a major pain point.
Yeah, major pain point, yes.
So now coming to add respondent. So here we are adding the respondent we are all aware that respondent is the person against whom we are filing the appeal, who is to respond to our appeal file before the GSTAT. So here respondent name will come, designation will come, and as already Dhananjay sir has already shared in the initial lines that respondent in case of state tax will be the Commissioner of State Tax. In case of central, it will be auto-populated. And the office details has to be given. Contact number and email ID, if available, then it can be given by us. So here, the question to Dhananjay sir is that though he has already shared that, what should be selected as a respondent, So, sir, if you can once again, because some of our friends have joined late, so for them, if you can just share who should be selected as a respondent and what is the significance of giving contact details? And can we also add more than one respondent?
It's obvious because the rule 33 says of the who may be joined as respondent. So it is said in an appeal or an application filed by a person other than the commissioner. So that is a taxpayer. The commissioner concerned shall be made the respondent to the appeal or the application as the case may be. So what could be the commissioner concerned is an ambiguity because the rule doesn't specifically or expressly provided the explanation over there. So, as we have discussed, the respondent, if the state authority has passed the order in appeal or revision, it could be state commissioner directly. And in central, I'm told the portal pick up the proper jurisdictional commissioner. Else, it would be very difficult to find out who is the jurisdictional commissioner because earlier there was only commissioner appeal. Now additional commissioner and joint commissioner appeal from CGST also they passed the order. So who could be relevant commissioner? Commissioner concerned, it pretty difficult. And the another common query is, can there be more than one respondent? So the rule says it can be added as the more respondent. एक minute. See, 18 says, Rule 18, D, 1D. It says the names of the parties shall be numbered consecutively and a separate line should be allotted to the name and description of each party, and these numbers shall not be changed in the event of the death of party, vagera, vagera. So I think the rule allows the adding more than one respondent. So there the question could be the respondent number one could be commissioner, then respondent two could be appellate commissioner, and respondent three could be the person passed the adjudicating order. I think it's really confusion. So better restrict it to one respondent only, and one has to go ahead because all are waiting for the defect memo to be issued and then refiling. Let's see. It's a trial and error kind of thing at this juncture.
Thank you, sir.
So Arupji, I'll just
Yeah,
add
Manoj, please.
to it. Yes. So, as Dhananjay rightly mentioned, in case of states, the confusion is little bit lesser because the commissioner is only one.
Yes.
But in case of centrals, there are multiple zones, east zone, south zone, west zone. So therefore, whenever we get an order, the order is passed by, generally it doesn't happen that the original order is passed by the south division and the appellate authority is east division. It's always when it is a south division, the appellate authority is also south division. So therefore, the commissioner of that south division will be commissioner south. So because this is something which is coming from the GSTAT. In GSTAT also, this is a very big area of dispute that is going on. And in the members also, I was told and I experienced that there is a difference of views. And when it comes to issuing the clarification, nobody is issuing the clarification. The only, I would say, the logic that is coming up is that ideally, I was always told that it is the original authority passing an order that should always be the respondent. But then the reason why the commissioner is concerned as the respondent is because commissioner in his executive authority is the only post which is giving the which is actually appointing the defendant, in the sense appointing the lawyers or counsels to defend the department before the tribunal. And therefore the view is that unless you make the commissioner as a respondent, we will not nobody will come up appear against the for the department because they will not get the orders to that. So that is the reason why this is. And as regards the judicial authorities, commissioner appeal, whether they can become an order or not, there I believe that probably because of their judicial nature. But there also again, as Dhananjay ji rightly mentioned, what if the order is given or order is dismissed for want of pre-deposit, or an order is given for on laws of limitation, where they have not gone into merits? In that case, technically, it is not a merger of an order. In that case, it is a dismissal limine where you are aggrieved not by the order of the original authority, but the order of the commissioner appeals per se. So therefore, it is very difficult. Ideally, there should be more than one parties. There is also one more reason. The people whom you want the notice of hearing to be served, those should be the respondent. So
Yes.
if you only mark the commissioner, then it will go to the commissioner south, but it will not necessarily go to the person who has actually passed the order. So that whether it is right or wrong, because in the old service tax regime, the section 80, 84 or whatever specifically said that to whom the notice of hearing should be served. And there it was not commissioner, it was the person who was passing an order to whom the notice should be served. That was mentioned there. Then we were trying to, say that this is an anomaly. Your SESTAT rule says it is commissioner, but in the act it says that it has to be the person. But then as of today, there is no answer to it, to be honest with you. And therefore, I believe the right way, right now, the people are accepting the appeal is by if you mention commissioner as a respondent, then your chances of your appeal not getting dismissed for want of respondent is better. So better to write commissioner and go ahead. That is how it is.
Thank you, Mandaji.
Arupda, just one quick
Yeah,
point
yeah,
in there.
Omkarji, yeah.
So in one of our cases, what has happened that we had got an adjudicating order which we challenged before the commissioner appeals, and the commissioner appeals passed the order. Now, after 12 days of that date, particularly, we get we get a cross objection filing memorandum because the original order of the adjudicating authority was reviewed by the department. They challenged that order before the same appellate authority. Now the same appellate authority has upheld the revisionary authority's application, and he has held that the original show cause notice is now the correct thing to happen. He has quashed the order passed by the adjudicating authority. So I have an appeal authority. I mean, I have two orders in my hand now. One is the order by the same appellate authority, which has had given me a modified order. And for the same matter, for the same year, when the department has gone into appeal by the same appellate authority, he has in fact quashed the entire matter and he has said that the SCN should be upheld. So now the catch 22 situation for me is when I'm going to file the appeal before tribunal. Now, whom should I select as a respondent? So we are trying to find some safe harbor rules for this because ultimately my point is that my appeal should be heard now because whatever I had said in the adjudication has anyways gone into the drain now. So I would want to restore that status of the adjudicating order also which I had got because it was of course giving me about 75% of the relief what I was seeking. So here this is where again some kind of a challenge is going to come into picture because we have the same appellate authority sitting in the chair who has passed both these orders.
Okay. Yeah, then it's difficult. I think then you have to go with Mandaji, whether put the commissioner and just leave it. So, Omkarji, the next question is to you only. So, we are all authorized representatives. Okay. So, we all know that we have to register ourselves as authorized representatives, just like taxpayers have to register in the GSTAT portal. But there is a dear doubt that is it mandatory to select the AR? That is the first thing. Second doubt by many tax professionals is that what are the advantages of adding me as a AR?
So while practically uploading an appeal, we saw that this is not mandatory to have an appeal. I mean, to have an AR of yours, you can only select in person if you don't want to add any person as an AR because maybe you're still in the search of your representative for that matter. Now, the only benefit what I see is of adding an AR is that the moment now in few of the cases when we filed the appeal and we are the ARs in it. So the moment we filed the appeal, we also got an intimation from the GSTAT that the appeal has been filed and you have been the AR in that. So there's a cross intimation received. What is practically the only benefit is that when during any of the listing of the matter takes place down the line, we are expecting the same communication to flow down to two people, the appellant as well as the AR on record. And because on the portal also now you are able to see on the appellant's GSTAT portal, you are able to see that I am the one who is the AR in that case. My email ID is there, my phone number is there. So might as well that just be like a helpful resource to be an additional mode of communication to receive the intimation of PH. And that, in my honest view, is the only benefit what you can say for having an AR. And plus, secondly, the administrative compliances of having wakalatnama and all these things are already in place. That helps you to avoid the last minute rush, especially. Now, I'll share one recent experience in Delhi. while appearing before the before the principal bench. In Delhi, the way of doing the stamp, the stamp paper methodology in Delhi is online. It comes on the online manner. However, it is not so the case on a pan India basis. So while appearing before the principal bench and while submitting the wakalatnama, we got to know that okay, this stamping has to be done through that stamp vendor portal, and from there the entire thing comes up. So for such hiccups which may come even at the last moment at the 12th hour when you are going to attend, so it is better to have all these things prepared, pre-prepared, and then having an AR of course is going to be the most helpful thing, although not compulsory.
Right. So I think what you're saying is some experience we are facing in GSTAT also. The defect notice comes to us when I'm an AR added now since online filing is there, and also the cause list whenever the matter is put in the cause list, I also get an intimation. So now we will quickly go to the next question. अर्पण जी किसके लिए बोला था इसके लिए हम लोगों ने 10 minutes रखा है because this is one major pain point in the GSTAT appeal filing, which is about the pre-deposits. So pre-deposits, multiple warnings are given. It is to be noted that pre-deposit has to be duly filed under the correct head, correct reference number. Okay, and you have to do everything properly. All these cautions and warnings are given. So now the first question is, Mandarji, that what are the options of filing the pre-deposit tab? Okay, so why is the option of self declaration given? That is another doubt. कि सर हम लोग तो बचपन से ये जानते हैं कि प्री डिपॉजिट पेमेंट करो खत्म 10% जो देना है GSTAT को उसको पेमेंट करो खत्म हो जाता है so why is this self declaration there in what scenarios can we file this self declaration so if you could just highlight on this and then I'll go to the other panelists also.
So again, here I would request other panelists to add their experience also, because I genuinely have a very limited understanding of this. See, in case of pre-deposit, I personally feel that the GST appellate portal does not have an option to pay the pre-deposit, because GST appellate portal is only talking about the appeal fees and all other administrative aspect. It is not talking about the pre-deposit, which is a part of the GST law, for which we have got our own GST portal. So therefore, there are two parts generally in which one can pay the pre-deposit, whether it's a first appellate or the second appellate. One is that you select the order. Once you select the order, it gives you the option pay against the demand. You pay against the demand, whatever is the amount of pre-deposit that you mention, and you pay. That is the payment of pre-deposit using the demand. In some cases, when it was not created or something like that, then you were asked to pay it using DRC 03. And then once the orders are uploaded online, then it was told that the demand is generated, and then you file GSTR 3, that DRC 3A, and tag it with the appropriate demand order, and then on the basis of that you will be able to tag that particular amount of pre-deposit with a respective demand. So both these things have been done by the people, because orders are passed long back. GST appellate was not in place. Department whereas after saying that we will recover the demand. So therefore people paid this pre-deposit using DRC 03 or pay by making the payment against the demand, and matter went over. Now when it comes to the GST appeal filing, GST appellate tribunal portal, at least my whatever limited experience that I have got is that the figures are auto populated. Now in my case, obviously the order etc everything was there on the portal. It was passed physically. APL 05 form was not passed earlier, so we persuaded the appellate authority to upload that particular form. On the basis of that, at least we got that particular auto populated figures shown in that particular window of the appellate tribunal's portal. Having said that, thereafter we were not able to access that portal. I don't know why. That section of the portal we were not able to access, and we were also not, fortunately for us in our case, it was a non-editable field, and we could see that these are the figures which are mentioned in that. Fortunately for us, those figures were correct. But otherwise, if the figures are incorrect, what is to be done? That was not very clear at that point of time. So my personal feeling, how I am looking at this entire scenario, is that in GSTR 1, the pre-deposit figures will come on its own. I don't know whether others can correct me if I am wrong. I do not know if the system has developed now, but those figures will come on their own. There may not be an editable field for the purpose of changing the pre-deposit figure. But as I have mentioned, while filing the appeal, the challan of pre-deposit is one of the important aspect or document that you have to upload. So uh, while this system only, asks you to save, this is the amount which is captured by the system at the time of uploading the pre-deposit. Either that document evidencing the payment of pre-deposit can either be GSTR, the DRC 03, or it could be the payment against pre-deposit screenshot which has been made. Either of do. Once you upload it, I think there, if you believe that there is a difference between the pre-deposit amount mentioned or auto-populated in the system and the pre-deposit amount that you are paying, then a specific explanation to that effect may be incorporated in the grounds of appeal or itself. So that is something which we are doing, is that sometimes, because again, what is the additional 10% of the pre-deposit 107? There are also a lot of interpretational issues for that. What happens if the amount is reduced, part relief is given at that point of time, how the pre-deposit is computed? So computation of pre-deposit itself on merits is a problem. If we are only talking about the procedure, then yes, to my knowledge, GST appellate portal does not have an option to pay the pre-deposit. That payment will have to be done through GST portal, either through DRC 03 or through your payment against demand, where the numbers are there available on the portal. You have to upload the proof, and if for whatever reasons the figures auto-populated in the system and the figures which you are considering as the right figure for the purpose of payment of pre-deposit are not matching, then you will have to incorporate the explanation thereof in the memorandum of appeal itself by taking a separate ground to that effect. That is how I would look at the entire scenario.
Thank
Others
you,
may add.
Manoj. Thank
My
you. Yeah.
experience is little different.
Yes, sir.
While uploading one of the appeal, what I have experienced is Mr. Arpanji rightly said, if you have ARN and then
Yeah.
you are lucky, because everything gets captured and the portal provides you the part payment figures. But there is an option available. If you don't agree to the calculation provided by portal, you can upload your calculation sheet and pay the pre-deposit according to you.
Right. So I think, yeah, so that is also right. So Arpanji, your views on this quickly. I'll just, Arpanji, before you answer, I'll just say that my position is like the Chak the India. 70 मिनट है तुम्हारे पास मेरे पास 30 मिनट है और उसमें मुझे लास्ट 10 मिनट Q&A के लिए रखना पड़ेगा. So I request you to be very briefly, if you can just quickly share about the pre-deposit, your views.
My view states that we have to put everything in a tabular form if ARN CRN is not available, and we have to enclose the document details like with payment with respect to pre-deposit. What I can tell you is that when it comes to registry, they do not have access to backend. Okay, so for them to verify whether you have paid the pre-deposit is a very difficult challenge, and that is the reason we are getting so many defects with respect to pre-deposit. So, in order to get the registry, the information to verify, we have to provide all the figures. And if you provide only DRC 03, then that will not suffice, because DRC 03A is also one of the requirement. Otherwise, you may use this DRC 03 for any other purpose.
Right.
So all these aspects, what I can, in order to keep the long story short, we have to sum up all the details with respect to pre-deposit and give it in a tabular form if ARN CRN is not available.
Mhm.
And we have to enclose it along with all the documents. And that is one aspect we can avoid the defect of with
I
respect
think that is
to.
why they are saying about self-declaration here, that what of self-declaration, because I'll give you one particular situation because time is limited, but I would just like to share one example. Like in the matter of one of our clients in Odisha, we had to pay 100% tax because the client had gone after the limitation period for the first appellate authority. The appellate authority, after getting 10%, they rejected the appeal. So now the Honorable High Court gave us the instruction that you deposit 100% of the tax. That means balance 90% also you deposit. Then only we'll allow the appeal. So in those cases, we are giving a self-declaration that entire amount has been paid by us through this, before the first appellate authority itself. So therefore, no further pre-deposit is eligible. So now,
I can add here, because you
yeah,
have referred to High Court. I will again take a minute.
yeah,
So whenever there is a tab that is available in pre-deposit, where we can click that any relief is
yes,
being provided by High Court to so and so, and the percentage of relief is, suppose we can put it.
Yes.
So the moment you put a relief with respect to High Court, like if there is any reduction of pre-deposit, etc., and you proceed to the next tab, you will not be able to undo that one as well. Like
Yes.
I told for place of supply, even this is the option where there is no undo option that is available, even if the appeal is not yet filed.
I
Even if
think
it
that's
is
a
in draft
wonderful
stage, so
point.
one has to be, all the members has to be careful at these two places.
I think that's a wonderful point, Arpanji, that you have shared, that there is no U-turn.
There is no
ओमकार जी
U-turn
बहुत
here.
अच्छा गाड़ी चलाते हैं, बट कभी कभी गलत रास्ता भी ले लेते हैं, तो यू टर्न कर सकते हैं, बट इसमें कोई यू टर्न नहीं है. So you have to keep that in mind. Now, Dhananjay sir, I'll go to you now. So now there is one common thing that section 112(8) says pre-deposit is 10% of the tax in dispute. So suppose my original demand was 10 lakhs. Before the first appellate authority, I paid 1 lakh as pre-deposit. Now, when I'm going, the appellate authority passed an order in my favor partially. He reduced the demand from 10 lakhs to 2 lakhs. So now, out of that 2 lakhs, do I pay 10% of 2 lakhs, which is 20,000 as pre-deposit? Or do I don't pay any pre-deposit because 1 lakh is already paid by me as pre-deposit before the first appellate authority? So this is a common question which is there.
112(8) clearly says no appeal shall be filed under subsection 1 unless the appellant has filed in full with it for that admitted demand and sum equal to 10% of the remaining amount of tax in dispute in addition to the amount paid under the subsection 6 of 107. So 20,000 is the answer for this. Because in addition is the word, and there, for the remaining disputes, there could be a position that 10 lakh order is totally ratified and the amount in dispute is again 10 lakhs. Then one has to deposit again 10%. So it could rise to 20% of the things. So because the in addition word clearly explains the things. So it could be in addition to that, whatever the dispute still remains.
Thank you, sir. And I think just to supplement what Dhananjay sir has said, people are comparing this with central excise and service tax. Please do remember, there the word was only 10% of the duty. Here, as rightly sir has shared, 10% of the tax in dispute. So this is the difference. So therefore, the answer would be, even if your demand is reduced from 10 lakhs to 2 lakhs, the pre-deposit would be 20,000. That is the view of the panelist. But one disclaimer, whatever views we are expressing, I just forgot to give the disclaimer in the beginning. These are all our views in our personal capacity, not as advocates or chartered accountants. CGPI may or may not subscribe to all these views, who are the hosts for this particular thing. We are just trying to share our own views and opinions based on our experience, based on our reading.
One thing to add, when it is said in addition to that, it equally true that it is amount of tax in dispute. So consequential interest and penalties are not to be taken into consideration. The new amendment for which if it is a penalty order exclusively, then 10% of the penalty, the amendment has been done, but still the effective date has not been declared. So the portal is also not calculating that part of penalty and interest. So one has to concentrate only on the tax amount in dispute, and then 10% could be additional to that.
Thank
So,
you, sir.
so Arupji, just one twist because it is important.
Yes.
In one of the case, the tax demand was entirely paid. Everything was in dispute, but tax demand was entirely paid. And then the liability outstanding, because once you pay it against demand, then the total outstanding amount appears to be zero.
Right.
Then at the time of first appeal itself, the pre-deposit computation was shown as zero. Then if you take a view that 10% we have to pay of the tax in dispute, then 100 into 10%, again another 10,000 comes. So your total liability actually shown as zero because everything is in dispute. You paid it for your own reasons, for whatever reasons.
Yeah. So Mandarji, there only the thing of about this self-declaration comes into picture. Ki, this is my pre-deposit. This I've already paid, so therefore no further pre-deposit is payable by me.
No, that is as far as the payment is concerned. We are not
Yes.
on the payment, we are on the computation. So
Acha.
in the computation part, the strict reading, as Dhananjay ji rightly mentioned, the strict reading comes in the first appellate authority of 1 lakh rupees, 10% you have paid. That is done. Now, when
Done.
you have got the relief subsequently, then that relief is not relevant whatever is the relief which is relevant, that you reduce it, and of that again 10% you pay. So whatever you have paid at the first stage, that you don't adjust. If
Then
whatever
no.
excess you have paid in the first stage, that you don't adjust. That is the literal view which is coming up.
Right.
But if at the suppose the tax is still in dispute, but you decided to pay the entire amount,
Right.
then the system will automatically reduce that amount from the outstanding balance. So the remaining tax, although the tax is in dispute, the system does not distinguish whether it's a pre-deposit or what. There is no separate tab for pre-deposit. This is a tax against the demand. So
Right.
therefore, the remaining amount becomes zero in that case.
And so no pre-deposit is coming in that case.
But if you strictly read it, then
It should be
even
there.
if the system is showing zero, you will have to still pay, because at the first pay, whatever you have paid, you have to forgot.
Right.
That is the problem. So that is the interpretation problem which is coming.
Yeah, that is one interpretation problem. Right. So now, Arpanji, another thing which has come up from October 2025, कि penalty पे भी आपको pre-deposit देना पड़ेगा. So these are queries regarding to that only. So here the query was that in the order in original there was tax, interest and penalty. Okay. And the tax, interest and penalty was also there in the order in appeal. But when I am going to the GSTAT, I am now paid off the tax and the interest. I am only challenging the penalty because I feel the penalty should not be paid by me. It's a genuine mistake, 2A, 3B and all those things are there. I don't want to pay the penalty. So in this case, is pre-deposit required? What is your view on this?
In my view, there is no requirement to pay additional pre-deposit here because, as Dhananjay sir has also said, that it is 10% of the disputed tax. The
Yes.
10% on the penalty is with respect to only penalty related orders, not with respect to the DRC 07 in which tax along with interest and penalty has been levied. So in this case, in my humble submission, it is not required in my view.
Okay.
And it is only that there is no separate requirement here. We can go ahead and file the appeal. It is more of
Amendment is
from
cognitive.
74 to 73, I wanted to convert. However, I have paid 100% of the amount. Why still I should pay 10% of that amount?
And the amendment is still not effective.
Yes.
Yeah. No,
And
amendment is effective,
also,
sir, for the
No,
penalty.
no. It's only IGST amendments are made effective, I
Yes,
believe.
but still, yeah. So that is the right.
Because they'll have to wait for the states
Yes,
to.
yes.
you allow me a minute, Rutaji. I
Yes, yes,
have
yes.
one point that in case of pre-deposit of 10% in addition to,
Yes,
now
yes, please.
Jharkhand High Court in the case of Ashirwad Food Industries has said that it can be adjusted.
But
And
again, whether that is in RAM or in personam, that has to be
that
discussed.
needs to be. So at least like it is like bench to bench it is being deferred. In say suppose we hail from Hyderabad. So in
Yeah.
our case, our bench is permitting the usage of they are not even asking for pay additional 10% if the amount is reduced at the first appellate level. So
Okay.
even if one require, they can refer to this judgment.
Yes, yes. So now coming to in add documents, all the documents we uploaded is PDF only. This is the tab which is there, document filed by, document type. So as you go, all the document types will come in, order in original, order in appeal, everything is coming in. And you have to select the file, you have to put in the pages, how many pages are there. So now, Omkarji, the question is to you that it's mentioned that the documents has to be uploaded as per sequence. When we are mentioning the document type, a sequence is given. So we have to mention upload it as per the sequence. As mentioned that the document should be indexed and paginated. Okay. So how do we actually do the proper indexation and pagination? Because this sequence, it is separate. So there it is order and appeal, then show cause and all those things. But when I'm doing the paper book, as Dhananjay sir has also shared, it will start from the birth of the dispute to the cause of the appeal. So what's your view on this? How do we handle this as a professional?
So, see, I feel very specifically in this case, I need to mention one thing, that the paper book that which we submit, the appeal paper book that which we submit, which primarily has the index, that index is given for a purpose, for the reference of this entire appeal whenever the appeal is going to be heard, and for the honorable judges also, and for the ARDR both, etc. for that matter. So the indexation that we are going to do and the pagination that we are going to do, there is going to be a sequence that you are going to follow there, which is, as rightly mentioned, that is from the birth of the appeal to the current situation where we are. Now there, the fact is that there might be a possibility that you are attaching certain things in a specific flow because you would want something to be listed first or at the end or at the middle, etc. This list what has been given and the drop down and the drop list that has been given for these documents, this is only for the statutory inclusions that should be part and parcel of this appeal when you're filing it online. That is the only limited purpose in my humble view to state so, because you cannot have both the things going exactly in synchronization, because the pagination and everything is going to be different. Now, for that matter, if we just take it up that in this list of documents, when you're attaching the grounds of appeals or you're attaching the SOF, the statement of facts, where we are preparing this SOF and GOA for that, you're going to have an entire Word file which you're going to be numbering right from the page number 1 of that up to the final inclusion that you're keeping. So this sequence might be there as a part of the GSTAT portal, but it has to be kept limited only to that. I don't really think there is going to be any challenge if we do not follow this sequence exactly in the paper book. The paper book will have its index, the paper book will have its numbers, and it have its reference. So nothing really is going to drift apart if we do not do so. So let us stick to the paper book in the sequence. I mean, the sequence basis that we are following, and the numbers be there. That is the most appropriate thing. And you can also might as well just add and mention that on the portal there is a statutory mention of, I mean, a sequence which is given, which is not self-picking, which is something which is coming up by default. So there we do not have any differential manner or method in which we can arrange them. So let that be considered only for the online filing.
Thank you. And one thing that many people are doing as best practice, the entire paper book they are uploading in any other document. So usme since everything is uploaded, so even the bench members will have the entire thing in indexed and proper pagination. So
It seems.
Mandarji, the next question to you is that, yeah. So Mandarji, the next question to you is that about the certified copy of the orders. So who
Yes.
can certify the documents to be true?
No, so if we look at the tribunal rules, GSTAT rules, then obviously it gives a reference as far as the appeals filed by the SSCs are concerned. It is giving reference to 116 of the CGST Act, which talks about who are the authorized representative of the, who can be the authorized representative of the SSC, and in that they have included the obviously the practicing advocates. Then, as far as professionals are concerned, they have included practicing advocates or a chartered accountant or a cost accountant or a company secretary holding a certificate of practice subject to the disqualification criteria which are mentioned over there. Apart from that, authorized representative also includes the relative or the regular employee of the company, and it can also includes the retired officer of a Gazette B designation. So these are all the people who can actually certify it. Otherwise, if you are giving the original copy, then that is as good as the certified copy, because original copy you don't require any attestation for that. So this is what has been mentioned in the order. Apart
Yeah.
from that, in the law, apart from that, I think if you are filing an affidavit, then it has to be by an advocate or a notary. That you have to consider, and that there is also a requirement of filing of a true copies of the order. So there, I believe if it is a true copy, then it has to be by the authorized representative. It cannot be by the SSC himself. So somewhere I believe that why authorized representative is required is also for the reason that he is considered as a credible person for the purpose of attesting the documents as compared to the SSC himself. So to that extent, I believe that that is how we will look it at as a certified copy. And there is somewhere I think in the rule which says that you have to also authorize representative is also supposed to sign everything
Mhm.
Foot
at
of
the
the appeal.
bottom at the footnote.
Mhm.
I personally feel that it's a cumbersome exercise, and that's the reason I feel that at least at the initial stage, the lesser you file, it's better. And with a caveat that you will be filing it later on during the course of the submission. But as of now, except for one, in fact, if there is a translation of the copy that is required, because one of the question which was posed to me is about the documents to be furnished. So if
Mhm.
the orders are in Hindi language or in other language, then English translation copy is required. And in that case, the rule says that it needs to be accepted and agreed upon by both the councils, both the authorized representative, and there the certificate or the attestation by the authorized representative is required. So there, I think some query was raised before the representation was made before the tribunal, where the president or vice president or the registrar has issued the clarification saying that we
Yes.
can't change the law. What the law is, that is there, but we will direct that for the at least for the first 6 months, as long as there is a proper valid endorsement on the order, we would not emphasize that it should be rectified. So some similar view I would believe would be taken for that footnote where they are requiring the signatures of the authorized representative. But as of now, today there is no clarification dispensing you from those requirements, although the tribunal has a power to exempt the requirement of certain documentation or the certain procedures from the filing. So if that power is exercised, I think shouldn't be a problem later.
Thank you, Mandarji. So now, Arpanji, over to you. One common doubt is that, see, about the technical pain points, maybe we have already discussed a few of the technical pain points, but anything technical that you want to mention about, because we are in GST, we are all about technicalities, A4 size paper, double spacing, font size, okay, document size, DPI, and all those things are there. If you'd quickly like to mention about that. And also another common query which is being raised by many of the professionals is, do we actually need to file the hard copy of the documents again with the registry? If you could just emphasize on these two aspects.
Yeah, because this question has subset of various questions, and
Yes,
it alone should take 10 minutes to address, but I will keep it short.
yes,
With respect to hard copy of to be submitted with the registry, I can tell you that GST 80 at this moment, the intention of the president and the intention based on which it has been drafted and aligned is completely paperless.
yes,
It will be in all electronic form at this moment. However, it is up to the bench. If required at the time of hearing, they may ask us to produce the hard copies for the reference of us, for the reference of DR, etc. Even GST 18 procedures also prescribes with respect to hard copies, provided if the bench insists. But at this moment, everything would be paperless. With right from the statement of facts till the last wakalatnama, everything would be paperless and everything would be uploaded on the portal. This is with respect to hard copy. And with respect to minimum documents, we have already talked about what all the documents that minimum documents that needs to be uploaded. And any other question specific you want me to address?
no, about the technicalities, like about this DPI and all.
See, total now the bandwidth has been increased. It is like 20 MB, 30 MB documents are they are able to take it. They are able to upload. 300 pages limit is there. Say suppose if appeal book, if you are uploading the appeal book, maximum number of pages in one single PDF is limited to 300 pages. That we should be aware of. And with respect to Times New Roman, I have seen even a text in the chat box that if we do not follow Times New Roman, that is completely fine. You can, in the checklist also, if required, what we are doing is we are putting it as no, and we are putting respective formula of font is used. What is there in that? I don't think so. This is
That will
that
be
material
used.
at this moment.
So now quickly going to the second last tab, which is checklist tab. It is again said that this is a Bible. So if you are following, at least in our office, we have made this a Bible, that please follow the checklist and just go through it, do the yes, no. It will give you an idea what is there, what is not there. So there are many things in the checklist. So Dhananjay sir, in many of the forums, it is said that it's checklist is most vital documents. Okay. So how do you think this is very important from the perspective of filing?
The checklist tab in GSTAT filing is not merely procedural. It's
Yes.
self-declaration by advocate appellate that all statutory and procedural requirements are met. A defect in the checklist is ground for returning the appeal. It could be sent back for the correction at the administration admission stage itself. However, not every no answer means the appeal cannot be filed. So context determines the particular impact. So checklist item, for example, English translation uploaded, the answer could be no, obviously, because in very few cases the translation would be required. Affidavit confirming accuracy of translation, there only required if item 11 is yes, otherwise it's no. So notice by appellate authority uploaded, no acceptable hoga. Then any other, there is it's an open field. So any is the standard answer unless specific document is being flagged. So item number 3, 4, 5, issues, case summary, statement of facts must be yes. So one has to take care going every checklist item, and their answer could be. So certain things are must yes, no compromise. Item number 1 and 2, OIA and OIO. Then item number 6, digital signature on uploaded documents, mandatory. Item number 7, filing appeals. Then 8, pagination and bookmarking as per index. There one has to answer yes, there is no compromise for that. Item number 9, 26, 29, color scanning, DPI, all that things. Then item number 10, appeal prepared in English, and that we have discussed. Or item number 20, all documents in single PDF with correct
So,
indexing.
sir, I would just like to seek liberty from you. What you're
Yeah.
trying to say is that we need to go on a case by case and understand what is important, which could be what could be fatal and non-fatal, and then follow the checklist accordingly.
Absolutely right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So now going to go quickly to Omkarji. So now the next step is court fees. So for this court fees, we get this tab. We go to Bharat Kosh. We have all these details we need to file. So that now there is a change because after the representation made by many of us, this is changed. Previously it was पहले लगान दो उसके बाद अपील फाइल करो अभी हो गया कि सब कुछ रेडी कीजिए फिर उसके बाद आप कोर्ट फीस दीजिए ओके सो जस्ट क्विकली इफ यू कुड शेयर अस एज टू नाउ like about the Bharat Kosh, maybe in a minute. Like already the procedure is given here.
Yeah, so it is, to be very honest, it is really a simple direct link payment that they have created. And the manner of calculation is pretty simple. It is basis, I mean, the calculation mechanism is also stated that on the basis of the amount in dispute, it will be for every 1 lakh rupees, it is 1,000 rupees. And it is capped up to rupees 25,000. That is the maximum amount that will be there. Another aspect is that for non-tax demand, like we recently filed appeal for refund, I mean, against the refund matters. So for non-tax matters on such as refund, there's a flat fee of 5,000 rupees which is collected. The Bharat Kosh, see, now particularly till the time you have not saved, I mean, you are not completing it, the appeal filing process, this is the almost the penultimate stage at which you will have to make this payment. And the payment procedure is pretty simple. Just one point I will add, what we have recently noticed is if you are making the payments through card and etc. thing, then there is an additional 50 rupees that is also going to be collected. So it is not really 5,000, it will be 5,550 and so on. So that is some hidden charge also that comes up. So, I mean, that is one more thing. And secondly, there is no limitation that you can pay from which card, which UPIs, etc. They have this extended payment facilities across all the possible platforms which are there for digital payments. So now once that amount is paid, it encapsulates that Bharat Kosh or stamping for that matter, that will be taken care of on that.
Great. So I think we'll go to the next question. So this question is not directly related to e-filing, but this is the question which is being raised in different webinars and seminars while we are discussing e-filing. The thing is that it has jurisdiction over taxpayers and departmental situations, but when you have to choose whether we have to go to the High Court or we have to go before the GSTAT, sir, what would be the strategic consideration in this case? So many tax professionals want to know this. In which case we can go directly to the High Court against an appeal order, in which case we have to stay put, be patient and go to the GSTAT.
I think it's a difficult question to answer rather because we all know the tribunal is a creature of statute, last finding body. The certain subjects are with GSTAT, I mean tribunal, and very peculiar subjects are under the Article 226 High Court power. So I would answer it in my way, and I would request Advocate Ishan to throw some light on this. So there are certain issues where GST registration cancelled without hearing. So if immediate answer is required, violation of natural justice, one can approach High Court. Then recovery proceedings initiated, many of the times under Section 83 provisional attachments, the appellant prefers to challenge directly in High Court because the quick solution is required. Then challenges to the constitutional validity of GST provision. There the GSTAT has no power to deal with the issue. Then challenges to circular notification as ultra vires because GSTAT cannot strike down the secondary legislation. Assessment order passed without jurisdiction altogether. Refund already withhold and urgent solution is required. So we can prefer a mandamus. Then SCN barred by limitation and order passed. If this issue can also be appealed before GSTAT also. There are certain issues where we can directly approach to High Court. Otherwise, in normal procedure, it should be before the GSTAT.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So, Mandarji, quickly, now we have Abhi Hamna 2020, hai, last 5 hours. And I would also seek some liberty from the participants with your due permission. We'll maybe extend the time by a few minutes. Okay. So I think you'll bear with us for that. So Mandarji, there is a question that can both the taxpayer and the department simultaneously file cross appeals? I think this is already discussed by Omkar ji a few minutes back. So you want to add anything to that?
No, so cross appeal basically, see what is the procedure. Any person who is aggrieved by the order, he will file an appeal.
Yes.
And once he file an appeal, that appeal will be served on the appeal memorandum will be served on the opposite party, that is on the respondent. And thereafter, within 45 days of that, the respondent is supposed to decide whether he wants to file an appeal against the remaining part of the order on which he has not filed an appeal before. So cross objection is not a rebuttal on the appeal filed by the department or the appeal filed by the appellant. It is basically if the order is passed and I have decided that I don't want to file an appeal against the order. Suppose, to give an example, suppose there is an order out of 10 things, 8 things are decided in my favor and 2 things are decided against me. I decided not to file an appeal against that particular order. Department decided to file an appeal against that particular order. In that case, it is up to me whether I want to file within 45 days the appeal against the remaining two part where I had decided not to file an appeal before. So it's an opportunity given to me, that is a cross objection. Same is the case with the other part. So cross objection ideally doesn't come simultaneously. Cross objection basically helps in saving your appeal fees, to be honest, because on filing of the cross objection there is no appeal fee.
Right.
So therefore, that is the only thing, and the time limit given for the purpose of filing an appeal by the department is 6 months, whereas here it is 3 months. So generally, both will not coincide with each other. That is how we would look at it. Either party will first file an appeal, and then only on the remaining party. Yeah, sometimes it may happen that nobody knows. Department doesn't know and assessee also know, both files an appeal. But in that case, it will be tagged along and it will be considered as if it is a cross appeals filed by the respective parties. That is how I would consider it.
Thank you, Mandar. I think that's wonderfully put. So now Arpan ji, about the cross objections. अभी कभी हम लोगों को लव लेटर आ रहा है, एक मेल आ रहा है कि आपके अगेंस्ट एक अपील फाइल हुआ है, तो क्रॉस ऑब्जेक्शन फाइल की. So what is our responsibility?
Our responsibility with respect to cross objection should be to first identify the due date, because we are all under the presumption that we have 3 months of time to respond, etc., to file an appeal, etc. But one has to be very careful that we have only 45 days to file a cross objections. So that aspect, I believe that we may miss on because we are not that used to at this moment. So we have to categorically put a note as soon as we received an intimation that an appeal has been filed by the department against order in appeal, a favorable order in appeal which of us, we have to first put it the due date into the criteria that should not be missed. Second, we have to what we say, counter all the allegations for on all the grounds which the department has went an appeal. We have to see that all the grounds has been duly been taken care of. And rest, as sir has said, that there is no specific challan payment or court fee or pre-deposit. Nothing is required. We have to specifically see that everything, like all the grounds, has been specifically quoted, like specifically counted and alleged upon. That is one aspect, and rest all the rules would be mutatis mutandis applicable to cross objections as well.
So two things I take away from your discussion is, one is about the timeline. I have to be very careful. Secondly, चुन चुन के हर ground का मुझे cross objection file करना है. That is one point. So Omkar ji, once the appeal has been acknowledged, if you want to file additional ground, okay, how do you file it? This is again a common question. That मैंने appeal तो file कर दिया, but I have not got the acknowledgement, but I want to file additional grounds. So how do I do it?
So now, as far as the additional grounds are concerned, so there is in the GST appellate procedure rules, in Rule 31 specifically, there is one demarked rule for this grounds which may be taken in an appeal. Now, there are what that rule particularly only says that if you want to add any additional ground which is not there in the original appeal memorandum, because your appeal memorandum has gone to the person who is going to be the respondent in the case. So if at all there is any additional ground that is to be taken up, that is to be taken up only with the permission of the bench, firstly. And second, the respondent would be given sufficient time to respond on that additional ground. So there practically what is going to happen is that you will be of course you are going to then need another hearing for that, because if you are producing a new ground suddenly on one fine day, then the respondent is going to take time. Now what can be the practical challenge in this case? Let us say that you have taken adjournments 1, 2, 3, everything has happened. Now this is the penultimate hearing, and today if you are coming with some magic wand and say that okay, I have an additional ground, how the bench in that particular point really reacts to that, whether that time can be granted or whether that factor can be taken into consideration, this becomes the key point for key point for discussion. So no doubt that there is a permissibility about the adding additional ground, what is there we can add, however subject to the bench permission when with regard to that.
So ideally, I has to be filed, interim application has to be filed, saying that these are additional grounds that I need to take, then accordingly as you have rightly
Yes. So
said.
interrogatory, I mean, that there is also that point, but now what the rule specifically is encompassing is about this when it comes to the grounds, or I mean, grounds that you can add during the hearing or rather during the appeal. So this can also be there, plus the application as you rightly mentioned.
Right. So, Arpanji, there's a provision for condonation of delay in filing. So what do you think about the delay condonation? What kind of reasons? Because as you know, Supreme Court is coming heavily that delay condonation cannot be explained from the last day. It has to be explained from the first day. मतलब अगर आपके पास 3 months plus 3 months है, then why don't you explain? So, what's your view on this?
I believe that in SESTAT also we have seen these cases that condonation is not that easy. Till first appellate authority, that is a completely different picture, and here that is a completely different picture. So unless until we show them a sufficient cause, as you have said, they will not see that last 15 days what caused you not to file an appeal. They will see that you had ample of 3 months of time, then you have to showcase them that what was a genuine reason. So medical grounds or financial inability to pay pre-deposit, etc., would be sufficient and genuine causes which the tribunal may entertain. However, if we just say that we were not aware of the order, etc., it would be very difficult to substantiate at the time of hearing. So I would suggest that do not let us not wait for the last date. Say let us not wait for 30th of June or etc. stating that portal was not running, etc., etc. Let us file it ASAP and see if there is sufficient ground. Let us put the screenshot of errors, etc., which again would be considerable enough. But if we do not show any sufficient evidence, then it becomes difficult. Then
Yeah, it becomes very light in that case. So
yes.
now we have discussed about additional grounds being taken after the appeal being filed. Now the next query which is raised in different forums is that what happens if you have additional evidence to be produced before the GSTAT? So I'll go to Dhananjay sir. Sir, what are the circumstances and what should be the strategic plan for bringing in the additional evidence before the GSTAT, which was never brought in before the adjudicating authority or the first appellate authority?
Actually, Rule 45 of the GST procedural rule starts with a negative note. The parties to the appeal shall not be entitled to produce any additional evidence, either oral or documentary, before the appeal tribunal. So, what could be the circumstances where the tribunal may permit an additional evidences, and what could be the circumstances the tribunal may not permit an additional evidences? I'll quickly go through the, considering the time constraint is. Evidence is not available at the time of adjudication proceedings, newly discovered documents. Second thing is evidence rejected by the lower appellate authority without proper reasoning. So where the adjudicating officer refused to admit the evidences. Many of the times it happens. Evidence required to enable the tribunal to pronounce the judgment. So tribunal may sumo to ask to file an additional evidences. Then matters remanded to original authority with permission to file additional evidences. And sometimes electronic records, GSTN portal data was not available at the prevailing time. Now it is made available. What could be three circumstances, I believe, not permitting, tribunal may not permit additional evidences. Evidences deliberately withheld at the adjudication stage. for the reason best known to the taxpayer and its counsel. Courts are unsympathetic for that. Then evidences available but not filed due to counsel's negligence. Can't help it. And oral evidences or fresh witnesses. Their GST cannot conduct the de novo trial with witness. So I believe adjudication at the adjudication stage itself, you have full scope to answer the show cause notice. There you should be very careful. Submit as much as you can so that these troubles may not be at the time of GSTAT level.
Thank you very much. So I think you have already just highlighted before us as to what are the additional evidences we can give, in which conditions they can be given, and also where it cannot be given. So now, Omkar ji, the final ball. बॉल ये है कि मैंने अपील तो फाइल कर दिया है. नाउ आई एम हैप्पी, आई एम बिलिंग टू द क्लाइंट, बट कैन आई से दैट एज सून एज द अपील इज फाइल्ड, एवरीथिंग इज डन, द अपील इज कंप्लीट, और व्हाट आर द थिंग्स आई नीड टू वेट फॉर?
So Arugda, the only thing is that we were just about to get out from this GSTR 1 to 2A, 1A, etc. That ring, if you remember.
Yes.
Now there is another ring over here, slightly on that lines only. So you file this APL 05. Now the first is that you get a provisional acknowledgement. The provisional acknowledgement is only that the appeal has been uploaded on the GST portal, or it has been received by the GST portal, and the registrar can still verify it for any defects or otherwise. So if when you file the GST appeal online, then you get a provisional acknowledgement. If thereafter any defects are there persisting in the appeal, the defects will be first communicated. They have to be rectified and then refiled, whatever is required. Thereafter, the part B of this APL 02 would be issued. Only when the part B of the APL 02 is issued, there is a number which will be assigned to it, and only that number becomes the primitive application of your, admission of your appeal, or rather, I would say that become the confirmation that your appeal has been duly filed. So, अभी client को billing करना है कि नहीं, of course that's a separate story, but definitely once you receive the part B of APL 02, only then the appeal can be considered to be filed, duly filed on the GST portal.
And then only I can put it in my WhatsApp status and saying that finally filed the first GST.
Yes.
So now I'll go to all the four wonderful panelists. So may I request all the participants first of all to have a huge round of applause for all our panelists. Okay, for putting in not only their time, energy, but the entire hard work that they have put in into for going to the questions which we have got from all the participants from different forums. So now I would go in this order. Mandarji, first to you, one tip that you would give to the participants to file the appeal effectively, and the limitation is 60 seconds for everyone.
So I will take less than that. So file only the relevant documents. Don't file anything extra. And whenever there is a deviation from the orders issued, try to capture the reasons for deviation somewhere in that particular uploading. That is how I would.
Thank you. Dhananjay sir, over to you.
Sentence is precisely only build your complete file before you log into the portal, and the second is prepare offline first and then file online last.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Arpanji, your tip?
Take extra care while paying pre-deposit and provide the relevant clarification in tabular form and upload the documents to avoid a defect. And as and when the statutory fees is paid, never ever attempt to delete the draft. Once that is, if you have deleted, you will not be able to take back, make whatever the amount that has been paid, that is gone, the case. And also, as Dhananjay sir said, first focus on the grounds, statement of facts, etc. That is where actually the GSTAT appeal lies in, and not all these technical parameters. But however, we have got deviated because of all the complex procedures. So, as said, first keep everything ready on the offline, and then put it in Excel, and then file online.
Thank you. And finally, Omkarji, your tip?
File the appeal only when you have time. File the appeal when you have time, twice the time that is required for filing an appeal, so that you check, verify, and upload in one go. And also ask your client to be ready if he is going to provide you any kind of OTP, the acknowledgements for that.
Okay. So, thank you. And now, with this, I would just like to, before I proceed, I would like to share that if you are not still a member of CGPI, please do join CGPI, because we believe in knowledge sharing. And of course, we have such wonderful partners with us as in we have Arpanji, Mandarji, Dhananjay sir, Omkarji, and many other wonderful knowledge sharers who are leading giants. And I'm also happy to share that today in our participants, we had some of the leading indirect tax professionals from across India. So that itself speaks volume, the kind of encouragement they're giving to us for whatever programs that we are trying to organize. So yeah, how to join? I'll just put in. Lakshmanji, can you please put in the membership link in the chat? So before that, I'll just quickly go into the queries. So with the permission of the participants, I'll just quickly, sorry, panelists, I'll just quickly go through the queries that is there. Yeah, so one is how should the pre-deposit? This we have discussed. Additional authorized representative we have discussed. Okay, who should certify the order? This is also discussed. I have converted three. I seek your opinion. Rule 22 endorsement for the name. That is there. Affidavit is not mandatory. That is discussed. One question is there. What if there are 12 issues and only one issue pertains to place of supply? So that is what we've discussed is that if one issue is for place of supply, still you have to go to the principal bench. So please be careful about the quantum. So if that one issue is of 2 lakhs out of 2 crores ka demand, you have to think whether you will take the risk of going to the principal bench or you'll go to the state bench, get the matter heard. Even if there is unfavorable order, you have High Court and Supreme Court. So that is one of the things. Okay, next is scan documents with 300 DPI. So anybody wants to share this?
Sir, if you can read out the question.
The question is scan documents to be with 300 DPI. So type documents converted from Word to PDF. So what would be the challenge?
See, as such, because we have got so many relaxations like instructions and orders from GSTAT, what they need is a document which is uploaded in legible form. That is what the registry is looking at the back end in order to what we say certify that there is no defects in the appeal which is filed. So ensure that it is scanned in a colored form and it is legible.
Okay. So representative respondent. Next question is about who may be joined as respondent. So we have discussed. Then it's about the bench. So bench also we have discussed principal bench and appeals filed 45 days before still showing under scrutiny. Mandarji, your views on this or Omkarji? That we have already filed the appeal before 45 to 50 days, but abhi tak uska kuch bhi showing as scrutiny.
So Arpanji probably want to answer that.
Yeah.
Since like last 1 month, like courts were on a holiday, वहाँ पे holiday चल रहा था. The similar was with the benches as well. Half
Okay.
of the team were they were on the vacations. So probably in another 15-20 days, we'll see that most of the pending appeals will get the scrutiny completed.
Okay, fine. Okay. So next is about the pre-deposit. Okay, so that we have already answered. How to fill the pre-deposit? In our case, no amount has been shown under the head of penalty. So how do we do that? So then, okay, next question is if affidavits are required only in certain cases, could you please let us know the basis for requirement? Okay, so regarding that, there is a office order of 14th May, as I think already Mandarji has mentioned. Mandarji has mentioned that affidavit is not required. It is already mentioned there as to what documents are required. Then can we not give grounds as attachment? So I think Omkarji, will you answer this? Can we not give the grounds as attachment? Grounds of appeal?
Why can we not? Sorry.
No, that is the question. I think the main question of the participant is that since we are saying about briefly giving the grounds.
Oh, no. It is, of course, necessary to give because what you are saying there is having a word limitation. So if you have something more to express, then of course, then the GOA should be given. The detailed one, which is there as a part of your paperwork.
I think Dhananjay ji also mentioned that it needs to be uploaded separately. Detailed one.
Okay. Yes, yeah, Dhananjay sir also had mentioned this separately. Okay, next is about the Wakalatnama or the authority letter. Wakalatnama is okay. For the authority letter for other than advocates, do we need to take it on stamp paper?
Ideally, it is best to take it on stamp paper because as in every case, the GSTAT bench also currently asks you to get it on stamp paper or with those affixing of the revenue stamp. So it is better to take on stamp paper.
Okay. So next question is that how can we ascertain the contact details of the commissioner? I think that is something that we have to get it locally. The contact details of the commissioner, that is the respondent.
Respective website, because one procedure rule says that copy needs to be served.
Okay.
Once the appeal is filed, we are supposed to serve a copy to the respondent as well.
So next question is something that we have not addressed. That is, appeal was not filed within time to the first appellate authority. Order in original is passed saying that the matter is time barred. Okay, that the matter is time barred. So can GSTAT condone such delay?
Within its own limitation, I believe, another 3 months. After that, there are court
No,
judgments
sir,
that
the thing is
even
that first appellate authority only I went after a delay. So appellate authority rejected the entire appeal saying that it's time barred. So now the question of the query of the participant is that can I go to GSTAT? Can GSTAT condone the delay which was of the first appellate authority?
very difficult. There are court judgments saying that even tribunal doesn't have a power to condone the delay beyond its limitation power.
Right, yeah, that's maybe because
Even I
even
will
many high
second
courts
what
are
Dhananjay
also.
sir said.
Yeah,
That
yeah, Arpanji.
tribunal can only look whether the first appellate authority was right in rejecting the appeal on the ground of limitation.
Absolutely.
That is what, to the maximum extent, the tribunal can go.
Right. Okay. So if next question is if appeal is filed in person initially, can we add the authorized representative later on?
Yes, absolutely.
Covered that later on we can do that. Even as GSTAT, there is a procedural guidelines that has been prescribed.
I think
Of AR and adding of AR.
Arupdan, somebody has also asked that can we change the AR later on? You can.
Yes.
You can give a fresh wakalatnama and you have a new AR.
That can also be changed. Okay. Next question, Mandarji, to you is that the money is already recovered by the department. Okay. So in this case, how do we show it in the pre-deposit?
No, so that's the question. Once the money is recovered by the department, then the appealed outstanding demand itself will be shown as zero,
Yes.
and pre-deposit will be shown as zero. So therefore, in that case, whenever you are uploading the note for the purpose of pre-deposit, you have to mention that is a deviation that we do not agree. The amount of 100% is totally recovered as per the law, but and which may be adjusted against the pre-deposit. That is how you have to put that note in the pre-deposit annexure, whatever.
Okay. So next question is that in some cases appeal fees is wrongly calculated. So this was also said by many of the registries that in case the appeal fees or the court fees is wrongly calculated, whatever is the right fee, that for that a defect memo will be issued if it is short. If it is excess, then we don't know what will happen. But if it is short, then we are told that a defect memo will be issued. So not to worry, just pay the court fees which is auto calculated. Okay, then we can also dispute, that is also given. So many of the questions are already answered. So I would not like to get into that. Okay, for translation of documents, we have already answered that for translation, relief is given till 31st of December. That if translated copies are filed by us or by the department and both of us agree to it, then there is no problem till 31st of December. Uske baad to there will be a procedure for that like we have in the High Court rules. Okay, then hard copy should not be demanded. That is okay. Okay, so full signature. Yes, so this is one question that we missed. So I think we should address this. So regarding the signature, is DSC sufficient or we have to do it manually? If either of them, DSC or manually, do we need to do it on all pages? Anybody would like to? Omkarji, you want to address this?
The self-cert, I mean, we are doing rather suggesting to have a signature or at least initialization on initials on each page, and maybe affix that after the scanning is done with a DS.
Okay, great. So rest are
we are affixing the DSC on all the pages so that it is more legible. Like scanned document may not be that readable. So what we are doing at our office or we can suggest is that we can affix DSC on all the pages is one aspect. The question comes is whether all DSC on all the pages is required. If you see the checklist, again, there is no sync between the checklist, the rules, and the procedures. So, DSC on all the pages, checklist says that it is required. However, if even verification part is been done, at least Hyderabad registry, they are not raising defects to that extent.
okay.
I've inquired with GST, and what I'm told is on the first page, any single page DSC can suffice.
Yes, first or yeah, that will do.
So,
Not small.
Arupta, just one question only from a recent experience. So we have one case right now filed for a client based out in Pune, but while filing the appeal, I mean after the appeal was filed, all the jurisdictional details are put up for Pune. But when we got the provisional acknowledgement, it shows that the appeal is filed in Mumbai. So now, with the expectation that the bench is to be there in Pune also, this is something that we are slightly in blur right now as to where the appeal is going to be then. I mean, which registry is going to take it up.
Right. I think, yeah, that is very important. And about the affidavit, about the Wakalatnama, the court fees or the authorization court fees, that would be as per the local stamp act. Like for West Bengal, it is separate, for Maharashtra, it would be separate. It would be as per the local stamp act. So, with this, we would like to conclude. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to see that out of almost 80 questions, we had already covered around 70, around 3-4 questions were left out, which we needed to answer. So before we close, I would seek your time for a few minutes of your time. And may I request our President, Madam Sujata Madam, if she could give us a few words of encouragement. Sujata ma'am, are you there? Yes, she is there. Ma'am, a few words of encouragement from your side. Are you able to hear me, ma'am? Okay, I think Sujata ma'am. Okay. Yeah, 1 second, I'll just make you the host. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Now you can unmute yourself. Good evening, Sujata ma'am. Ma'am, can you hear me now? Okay, I think ma'am has some network issue. Okay, so Padma, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I think, over to Padma, core committee member, for the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Arubda. So I would wish to propose a formal vote of thanks, but before that, hands down, this is one of the best sessions that we had in CGPI. I think this is one of the most useful sessions without any doubt, because it was very practical, because we have started actually filing the GSTAT appeals. So now to formally propose the vote of thanks, I would like to thank today's panelists, Dhananjay sir, Mandar sir, Omkar sir, and Arpan sir for agreeing to be today's panelist and sharing your views on the practical aspects in filing before GST80. And without least, Arubda, you have been one of the finest moderators we have always had, and we would always like to have you as moderators in all these practical sessions, because you help to bring out the best in all the panelists. So thank you, sir, for consenting to be today's moderator and taking the discussion to the next level. Thank you, sir. And I would also like to officially thank the office bearers of CGPI for organizing today's session. And as continuation to today's session, I think after 1 or 2 months, we should again sit down like this once again and continue this discussion, because as the bench starts functioning, then we will have better input of how the benches is actually looking on the documents that we are filing, and the paper book that we are presenting, and whether they are doing it manually or they are doing it through the system, and what are the defects that they are noting, that that will help us to refine our understanding better. So, and also as a part of CGPI, we should also think of having a separate, forum where we can address the issues in GST80, so that we can take it up with the concerned authorities as well on a nationwide level. So we'll put our efforts to that as well. So with this, I formally conclude today's session, and thank you for all the participants for joining us today.
Padma, before concluding, I would just like to state that our President Madam's audio is not working. That's why she could not somehow give us the words of encouragement. But I would like to share that she is the encouragement behind us. She just comes out with ideas and encourages us to go out, all out for knowledge sharing. And while on this, for the benefit of the panelists, we would like to share that just because of the interest generated by all of you, more than 380 registrations have been received by us today. So, which speaks volumes about the panelists. So, thank you very much. And thank you once again. And have a wonderful evening ahead. And looking forward to meeting all of you soon for yet another insightful session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arubda.
Thank you all co-panelists, and thank you, Arubda, and your team for that wonderful compilation of questions. We might have just given the answers, but the
Everything was
questions
almost
were
everything was covered.
I think I would fail in my duty if I don't share about my team members, Anindita and Swastika. They have been behind this. They have really worked hard. and come up with all the questions. So thanks to them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.